Live to the UK. News, information, entertainment, and the best music from the past 40 years. This is Play 2 UK. Tommy Boyd. Call 01243 55 60 60. Email studio@playradiouk.com. Skype play.radio.uk. Now, live from the south coast of England, the Tommy Boyd Show, only on Play 2 UK.
It's Monday, the 24th of November 2008. Good evening to you if you're listening live in the United Kingdom at your PC or your laptop. Good day if you're listening around the world. And hello if you're podcasting this on a subsequent occasion. Let's see how we do. How are you, first of all, listening? Good. We are well. We have Fiona this evening.
Good evening.
And we have Sarah as well. Good evening.
Hello.
Hello. At 2 minutes past 8, that's UK time, the Chancellor got up into his feet at 3:30 this afternoon. This is in the UK. Our Chancellor being the equivalent of, I think it's the Treasury Minister or whatever they have in the United States. Barack Obama's just appointed his. Somebody from the Federal Reserve. They've been doing well lately. He must have confidence where others don't. Anyway, Chancellor of the Exchequer, Andrew Darling, got to his feet and announced probably the most revolutionary set of budget details.
Who, Darling?
Alistair Darling. Did I say Alistair Darling? Did I say Andrew?
Yeah.
Good. You're paying attention. You can go home now. Did I say Andrew Darling?
You do. So I was thinking Andrew Darling.
Well, I don't know how it was.
Brother of Alistair.
We'll just park it there for a second. I don't know if your mind works like this, but as I approached the name Darling, I was tempted to do the Blackadder joke.
Yes.
See. Do we know that? Hello, darling. You know. And that was probably what obscured his first name for me, so thank you. Alistair Darling, with the incredible eyebrows.
Yes. I can see why they think he looks like a badger.
I haven't seen eyebrows like that since Rocky Balboa. Have you seen that film yet?
No.
Sylvester Stallone, now he's 62, he wears the most appalling set of false eyebrows in Rocky Balboa, which I've never seen before. We'll just take a quick call, even though you have no idea what we're talking about this evening, but go anyway. Hello.
You love Timmy Mallet in the jungle.
It's frightening for me. Have you gone? It's frightening for me. He's gone. It is frightening for me. Because having worked with the little fella, I get nothing now. What is he really like? Well, he's like that.
Yeah.
I mean, he is actually like that, although he's been on his best behaviour in the jungle. We'll come back to I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here a bit later on. But what do you think about what the Chancellor has been getting up to? Email studio@playradiouk.com. It's a huge set of measures. You know what they are. VAT down 2.5%. Income tax on for people earning over £150,000 up to 45%. Although, I think I'm right in saying that doesn't kick in until 2011. I don't quite know why, but anyway. And lots of other measures as well, which are designed to keep us spending through what otherwise would be a recession, possibly a depression. So if you have any strong thoughts on that, or any whimsical observations, or any light-hearted wisecracks, or if you want to be bloody rude about the whole thing, I suppose, would be perfectly acceptable, you can email. It's studio@playradiouk.com. And I have an email in from, who is this? Roy. Thank you, Roy. Roy emails, I just wonder what he's trying to achieve other than maybe to try to score some possible political point to help the Labour Party standing at the next election, which in itself is debatable with huge tax increases that will have to be brought in later. The reduction in VAT, I think, is just a token, as I believe that under EU rules he cannot reduce any less. However, I didn't know that. However, I understand that with regard to petrol, tobacco and alcohol, he's to increase the duty to replace the reduction in VAT. So what's the point? Well, the point, Roy, is that he's going to make money out of alcohol, tobacco and petrol, or at least, so those prices won't be going down, but the government will be making a little bit more out of them. But the point, Roy, is that your bread and your milk is going to be cheaper, pet. That is the point. Your bread and your milk, everything that you buy, apart from what's non-vatable, Fiona, do you know?
Children's clothes?
Are they non-vatable?
I believe so. And is it biscuits or cakes?
The Jaffa debate. Sarah, what do you know about the Jaffa debate?
Well, it's trying to work out whether it's classed as a cake or a biscuit.
Yes.
Because is it a biscuit that's non-vatable? Or is it a cake?
I think a cake is a luxury item. Somehow a biscuit is regarded as a necessity.
Right.
I know, it's
Very confusing.
extremely. And Roy obviously is still struggling to get his head around it. But thank you for your email anyway, Pet. He says, I would have thought to get people to spend, he should have reduced income tax or NHI so that people did actually have extra money in their pockets to spend. Also, what's it going to cost for shops and industry in general to implement the VAT change? To be honest, I'm just left baffled with what he's doing. Well, Roy, it's very simple, Roy. Come on. He's just trying to put a little bit of extra money back into people's pockets, which he hopes that they will spend, so that shops and small businesses, where people would be spending that money, don't go to the wall. Now, that's what he's trying to do. Whether it's the right thing or the wrong thing is the issue, but I don't think what it is he's trying to do is anything of an issue. I hope this isn't another Timmy Mallet call. Good evening.
Hello, is Paul there?
He's left, unfortunately.
Huh?
He's left.
He's left?
Yeah, are you talking about which Paul?
Paul Anthony, Paul Godwin.
He's don't call him by his real name.
I know, he hates it.
You're on air, Pet.
Huh?
Huh? You've called the on-air switchboard. You're a fool. What are you?
I'm a fool.
Yeah. What's the
Sorry.
message for Paul Anthony, anyway?
Yes. What time's he in the studio until?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
Then I kick in.
Oh, right. Has he actually left the studio now?
Yes. He's gone home. He's gone home for a kestrel.
Or 10?
No, 4 or 5, he tells me, most nights.
Okay, I'll try him later.
Who shall I say called?
It's Rod.
Rod. Was it about anything? Not that tin of paint.
Sorry?
Is it about that tin of paint?
I can't hear you.
I said, is it about that tin of paint? He's telling
About
me.
a tin of paint?
Yes.
Yes, it is about a tin of paint.
Well, all right, then in that case, I'll leave a message on his desk. He'll be on to you first thing in the morning when he's sober.
Okay, you tell him it's about a tin of paint.
I will
That'll
do.
be fine.
Yeah, all right.
Cheers.
It's an old joke. It's the Tommy Cooper joke. Do you know it? Tommy Cooper says... He says, that's my Tommy Cooper.
Very good.
He goes, a mate of mine, he went round to see somebody he knows. He knocked on the door, and his wife answered it. He said, is Albert in? She said, no. He died this morning. My mate said, oh dear. Did he say anything about a tin of paint? And it's quite sort of, isn't it? So taking calls on, and we will deal with the economy, which is a big issue today. Catherine Catt will be with us from 10 o'clock. Catherine Catt is our art critic and a full-time sex worker, and so we'll be talking about the Bacon exhibition, painter, obviously, the Wolf book, as in Virginia, obviously, and Survivors, which is this new TV series about what happens when the world is struck down by some sort of hideous virus. Is that right, Fiona?
Apparently.
You're too busy to watch television as well, aren't you?
I am.
Sarah, do you watch much television?
A little bit, yes.
What sort of thing do you usually find yourself
I have a
wanting
strange
to watch?
addiction to reality television at the
Oh,
moment.
shoot.
It's awful.
I'm a celebrity, get me out of here.
Maybe a little bit.
Ah, jeez. Come on, who's going to win it?
I like Joe, I'm sorry.
Which one's Joe?
You know, the little Cockney EastEnder.
No, I don't know. What's he been in?
EastEnders.
Oh, right, okay. Oh. What do I know?
He's
Why
got
d-
a thing for Esther Ranson at the moment.
What do you mean?
Well, they're kind of all over each other. Have you seen that?
How old's Joe?
Joe's what? Early 20s.
And Esther is...
60s?
60 odd, isn't she?
Yeah.
And are you saying this is a...
There's a bit of flirting going on there.
Right.
He gives her back massages.
Oh,
and-
wow. Mind you, it was a foot massage
wash
just to
my
that bloke in
hair.
Pulp Fiction, didn't it?
Well.
They said that was sexual, so... So you reckon that... Do you think that there's some sort of interesting romance?
Possibly.
Right, who do you loathe? Who do you want thrown out next?
That...
Please.
David Van Day.
David Van Day! David Van Day, Fiona!
Yeah.
She wants thrown out next. Now, Fiona's got a laugh on her, and anybody with any sense of social skills will know that there's a reason why her laughing is going on at so many different levels. David Van Day.
Yes.
Sarah wants thrown out. Fiona, your thoughts there?
I agree with her. We should throw him out.
Oh, right, okay. You're a nice friend, aren't you? Do you want him back? Is that what it is? How matey are you with David Van Day?
I'm not matey at all with him.
Yes,
I
you
think
are.
I'm matey with him.
Because you're always on about him. No, that's not true, I know.
Keep saying things like that.
I've
It's
got
not
this.
true.
Tommy. This comes from Sonny. An email. Thank you, Sonny. Sonny says, Tommy, may I be the first to say what a joy it's been to see your ex-workmate and good friend, I'm sure, Timmy Mallet, back where he belongs on prime time TV. I'm sure you'll join me and the rest of the Play Radio UK listeners in getting behind Timmy in becoming king of the jungle. And he could well win it, because didn't Christopher Biggins do quite well?
Yes,
Yeah.
he won it, didn't he?
And aren't they, isn't there something similar about Timmy Mallet and Christopher Biggins?
What, they've both done pantomimes?
No, just something sort of... Don't they look like brothers?
I don't. Timmy Mallet's just annoying, isn't he?
Could not possibly comment.
I think you could, Tommy.
I could tell you legions of stories.
Go on then, I'm listening.
He's just an annoying man.
Yeah.
He's incredibly annoying. The first time I ever met him, he came onto a TV show that I was doing, and just before he came on, I'd been reading out children's letters. And somebody had written a letter in from Birmingham, and we had behind us a map of Great Britain. And I went to say that Birmingham is here, sort of in the middle of England, right? Which is how you deal with this was early morning kids telly, so they were about 8 and 9, the average audience, aged 8 and 9 at that time in the morning. So you can't say, you know, it's Birmingham is the second largest city, and it doesn't matter. So you just say something that they can grasp. So I said it's more or less in the middle. But what I said was something like it's sort of in the middle, Midlandsy bit here, you see. And he then came on. No, it was Manchester. Sorry, Manchester. It was sort of in the Midlandsy bit of England here. He walked in, and he just went. Right, he said, first of all, you're an idiot. I'll tell you why you're an idiot, because Manchester is not in the Midlands. Manchester is in the north. Birmingham's in the Midlands. You idiot, you fool. I thought, well, you know.
That's a very good impression.
It's not bad, is it?
Yeah, it was quite good, actually.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. Who else do I do? Rolf? No. So that's Timmy Mallet, and thank you very much indeed for the email there. We're 5 minutes away from the news, which Sarah will bring you this evening, and Fiona has the weather. It's filthy cold out there. Louise has emailed on the pre-budget. I still don't know why it's called a pre-budget. It's the most swinging set of financial changes that this country has probably ever seen in one swoop. But it's been called a pre-budget.
Yes.
I don't know whether that means that the changes don't kick in. Actually, I know they do. The VAT change kicks in on the 1st of December. But I don't know why it's called a pre-budget. However, it's an enormous set of changes and worth lending a thought to, even if you want to be utterly cynical, good listener.
It's interesting that they're doing that mid-tax year as well. You'd think
Yes.
that they would
Yes.
do it from the
Yes.
6th of April or whenever it is.
How do you lot pay your taxes? Are you self-assessment in your house, Fiona?
Yes.
So you guys get together around the PC and tap it into the screen, do you?
Yes.
You haven't got an accountant?
Yes.
Yes. If you're going to answer yes to all my questions, no matter how contradictory, I know which road this conversation's going down. All right,
Because
whatever.
it's more than one...
Business.
Yes.
Oh, right.
That's right.
Oh, so you're like something, you're a corporation. Fabulous.
Yes, a limited company.
Who does the books in your house, Sarah?
Nobody.
Nobody! That's
Nobody. Some little lady in an office sorts it for me.
Oh, right. You take things along in a shoebox every so often.
Yes.
People do
Yes.
take their stuff in shoeboxes.
Oh, and bin liners.
And bin liners?
Yeah.
Yeah. When a man called, now what was his name? Mandaric, Milan Mandaric, took over Portsmouth Football Club. I was quite friendly with somebody who worked there at the time, and they said, could we have a look at the books? Now you'd expect the books, wouldn't you, to be at the very least books.
Yes.
At best, something on a screen. They took him into the attic, which at a football ground is very big, because you know how those stadiums are?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it was the length of one of those. And in there were shed loads of cardboard boxes going back to 1933. Okay. And every time they got an invoice, or paid a bill, or didn't pay a bill, they just chuck it in there.
Right.
That's mad.
And that was their books. And not surprisingly, I see that 18 football clubs have been let off their tax bills because they can't pay them.
Why should they be let off?
That's what I thought. Why are they let off and you wouldn't be?
No. Why?
Why? It has something to do with how the whole thing would fall down like a house of cards if they were forced to pay the tax bills. I don't fully.
It's only a football.
They get to renegotiate their tax bills.
Wonder if I
You can do that.
renegotiate Mine.
Oh, I got screwed once. I found myself well short once, and I went in, and a lady behind. I had to speak to her through a grill, but she said, "Well, okay." She's what? No, through a piece of mesh. It was rather like a prison visit. Gave me a taste of what might happen if I didn't.
You didn't pay.
Yeah. She said, "Oh, that's all right." She said, "Write us out a cheque for whatever you can afford at the moment, and then write us out a cheque for about that amount every sort of month or so."
Really?
Nice, yeah. Because ultimately they want the money, you see. This is the thing. Louise Green has emailed to say, "I may be wrong, but I don't think bread and milk will be cheaper due to a reduction in VAT. Food is not subject to VAT unless in a restaurant, etc." She may be wrong. She may be right. I'm going to leave that to somebody else to find out. Mainly because all our PCs in the studio are at the moment commandeered. We'll be talking to Catherine Catt a little bit later on about the Bacon exhibition, about the TV show Survivors, and about the Virginia Woolf book that she's just completed. And also talking about her day job, which is she's a sex worker, professional sex worker, a full-time sex worker, and by all accounts one of the best known in the world. And she's quite prepared to answer any questions, no matter how sensitive they might be, that you have about either art or sex. About lovemaking, or about romancing, about the act itself, about what she does and how she does it. Last week she fielded a lot of questions which I would have found impertinent if anybody had asked me those questions, but she answered them consummately. She's a consummate person. So that's pretty much the story. We're also talking about I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, and reality TV, and quite a few nice emails coming in, so that's cool. studio@playradiouk.com is the email address. You can Skype. play.radio.uk is our Skype address, and our switchboard number, if you're going to be old-fashioned about all this, is 01243 55 60 60. I've got this from Gary. He says, "I've just caught up with your show from last Tuesday." This is podcasting. It's going to get complicated, the whole thing. I've got a couple of points. Excellent work, as always, by the way. Jimmy Greaves' son, we were talking about the footballer Jimmy Greaves.
Wow.
Have you heard of Jimmy Greaves, Sarah?
No.
Excellent, fine, that's no problem. Jimmy Greaves' son is now managing Witham Town FC in the Ryman League Division 1 North. And apparently Jimmy's been seen at quite a few games. That's sweet. He then says, because last week we talked about radio and broadcasting, do you remember?
I do.
Gary's a caller who slagged off Radio Kent.
Okay.
He says, however, after slagging off Radio Kent last week, I was then invited to assist them doing commentary on my local football team, Dartford, on Saturday, which was a great experience. So he says, "So can I come on your show today and slag off the National Lottery this week in the hope that I get a call from them?" Keep up the great work on the show. Thoroughly entertaining stuff. Thank you very much indeed for that. It's 20 past 8. We'll grab the news.
Play 2 UK. Headlines.
2 men have been convicted of murdering Hell's Angel Jerry Tobin. The 35-year-old was shot on the M40 as he travelled back from a biker festival in Warwickshire. Simon Turner from Nuneaton and Dane Gartside from Coventry were also found guilty of a firearms offence. The Chancellor has unveiled emergency plans to deal with the financial crisis. From next week, VAT will be slashed from 17.5% to 15%. The super-rich have also been targeted. Anyone earning over £150,000 a year will pay a new, higher rate of tax. Barack Obama's turned to the president of the New York Federal Reserve to help America through the financial crisis. The president-elect has named Timothy Geithner as his Treasury Secretary. More people than ever before are choosing to keep babies with Down syndrome. Parents say they feel their children are now more accepted. Ben Kay's been called into the England Rugby Union squad ahead of Saturday's international against New Zealand. The Leicester Locks needed as cover for Tom Palmer, who's struggling with a calf problem. England boss Martin Johnson names his side to face the Grand Slam chasing All Blacks tomorrow lunchtime.
Play 2 UK weather.
Cold, clear and breezy for much of the time with a touch of frost. Occasional showers, sleety on higher ground, will also affect northern and eastern Scotland, eastern England and the far west of both Wales and Cornwall. Looking on to tomorrow, chilly, breezy and fairly sunny, though still a few showers across eastern England. Turning overcast and damp across northwest Scotland during the afternoon and other northern parts during the evening.
You're up to date on Play 2 UK. PlayRadioUK.com, part of the Something Corporation.
In 1764, Henry J. Podcast invented the bestest way of catching up on all the show loveliness you couldn't be bothered to catch live. The podcast, as it is now known, has since become popular with royalty, inmates, and the occasional zoo animal. If you have missed any of our audio transmissions, such as Tommy Boy, Mike Mendoza, or the Sunday Roast, then fear not, brave radio warrior. Just go to playradiouk.com/podcast and download them for free in your own time, and then put them on your computer or MP3 player. Consider yourself a lucky listener and download the tremendous podcastiness now. PlayRadioUK.com/podcast, making the unmissable catch-upable.
Are everyday items stretching your family income to the limits at the moment? Me too. Well, I found this amazing website, comparison-plus.co.uk. It's amazing. You can compare the prices of thousands of products from all the big retailers. And what's more, it's a totally free service. You don't have to become a member to use Comparison Plus. But if you do register with comparison-plus.co.uk, you get cashback rewards, giving you even bigger savings. Don't pay over the odds. Click comparison-plus.co.uk and start saving now.
The Tommy Boyd Show, only on Play 2 UK.
Now, I'm thinking of introducing a new strand to the talk segments on Play Radio UK, on Play 2, and that is some kind of a quiz. I'm looking for some kind of pub quiz format, because pub quizzes work, don't they? In spite of the amount of cheating which apparently goes on now, the increased amount of cheating which takes place at pub quizzes, with people sitting with their mobile phones out of sight, tapping the questions in, and apparently there are sites you can go to now, and you just tap in a couple of things.
Yeah.
You know, who won the Battle of St. Petersburg, and it will give you the answer. And apparently there's a lot of this going on.
That's naughty.
It's great.
I mean, as wonderful as the internet is, it's one of the downsides of the internet.
What's that?
Well, I think it's to spoil quizzes in general.
Really?
I think so.
Well, I'll have to find a format then. A format for a quiz show that means you can't Google.
Yeah.
And that's possible.
Because what's the point of somebody taking part in a quiz
where
they're all just relying on the internet?
Absolutely. So we need a new format, but we like that, don't we? Because aren't we the most creative people in broadcasting?
Absolutely.
Isn't that right, Sarah?
Absolutely.
There, you see. You see.
Womber, you're back.
What did you say?
Tommy,
Alan.
I'm on my way to Harborne now for quiz night.
Yes.
The pub is called The Junction
Yes.
on Harborne High Street.
And what sort of quiz questions do you get asked at the junction?
Well, the first one is a picture round.
Right.
The second round is called Read All About It. That's basically looking back at the last 7 days in the news.
Right.
The third round is a top 5, where there's 2 questions, but there's 5 answers to each question. The fourth round is a trivia trail, where the last letter of the previous answer makes up the first letter of the next answer. So say if the answer was W, then the next answer would begin with a yellow.
Yeah, I know, yeah. I know.
1, 5 is the connections round. You can have 4 answers, and the fifth question is what's the connection between these answers.
Yes.
And the last round is a wipeout round. That's 10 questions, but if you get one question wrong, you lose all the points for that round. So say if you had 5 right answers and you get one question wrong, you lose those 5 points.
Okay, is that it?
Yeah, those are the 6 rounds.
Okay, Alan. Well, your answer to the question, what sort of questions do they answer, is, I'm afraid, incorrect.
Why?
I don't have to tell you, you just got it wrong.
So why are they incorrect, Tommy?
No, I haven't got time to, we just go wrong. It's a pub quiz, mate, and you're wrong. That's not what goes on. No, it doesn't matter.
Well, was John Gorn wrong?
I'm winding you up! I'm winding you up! It's alright! Calm down, calm down. Calm down. Which round do you usually do best in? Which do you like best?
We read all about it.
Ah, the current affair. So have you been swatting? Do you follow the news differently now because of your pub quiz?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
I do every research. I look in all the papers, and I go on the internet as well, on the BBC website, and Reuters, and the Sky News website.
And what sort of questions are you anticipating coming up on Read All About It tonight, then? Ask us here.
John Gaunt. What was the name of the councillor who John Gaunt called a Nazi?
Oh, that's a
Cost
good...
him fired from Talk Sport.
That's a good question. Fiona, do you know the answer to that? The name of the councillor who was called a Nazi by John Gaunt?
Oh, no.
No? Do you know, Sarah?
Oh, I'll take a guess.
Yes.
Norman Mont?
Norman Lamont?
Yes.
No.
No.
Hold on.
Let's have a chat with Michael Stark, Cabinet Member.
Shut up.
Council, who joins us now.
Honestly, Alan, you jump in and you shout sometimes. We're just being clever here.
Let's have a chat with Michael Stark.
Michael Stark, I'm guessing.
Okay.
Michael Stark.
Wrong answer.
What? What is the answer?
Michael Stark, he played Sinbad in Brookside, didn't
Well,
he?
and that's why I should
Ian
remember that.
Weatherford.
Yeah, no. Who
No.
did you say it was?
It was Ian Weatherford who was the councillor.
No.
Listen carefully again. Alan, are you there?
Let's have a chat with Michael Stark, Cabinet Member for Children's Services on Redbridge Council, who joins us now. Hello, Michael. Hello.
Michael Stark. It's John Gaunt's introducing him there.
Are you sure it's Michael Stark? I think you got your information wrong. I think you got your information wrong.
All right, shut up and listen again. Just listen, all right, Alan? What you'll hear here is John Gaunt introducing the beggar.
Let's have a chat with Michael
before you
Stark,
called him a
Cabinet
Nazi.
Member.
He didn't change his name after he'd been called a Nazi to Ian. If he was going to change his name after being called a Nazi, surely he wouldn't have changed it to Ian. Ian isn't a standout Nazi name, is it? What are you saying here? Listen again.
Let's have a chat with Michael Stark, Cabinet Member for Children's Services on Redbridge Council, who...
Okay, point proven.
Exactly. Why take me on, for God's sake, Alan? Why even try,
Anyway,
you know?
next question.
Oh, yeah,
We've
okay.
had snow in the east of England, but what was the lowest temperature it got in Aberdeen?
I don't care, those buggers in Aberdeen, they've got it coming.
No, but what was the lowest temperature?
Okay, well, we'll have to have a guess. Do you want Celsius or Fahrenheit?
Either would do.
Either will do. I'm going for -6 centigrade. What do you say, Sarah? Just have a shot in the dark here, just to...
-9.
-9 goes Sarah. Fiona?
-4.
-4. Alan?
It was -7.
Okay. Next question, one more.
Barack Obama, how many jobs has he decided to create when he becomes president to cope with economical downturn?
300,000. No, it's
Fiona?
500.
500
Matt?
jobs. No, this isn't Matt. This is Sarah. Matt's much taller than Sarah.
Hello, Sarah.
Hello. I'm going to go crazy and say 2.5 million.
Tommy was closest. It was 300,500.
I was 500 out. What do you-
Yeah.
well, that sounds very picky of him, going 300,500, doesn't it, really? It's like when you...
Elect.
Yeah, I know he's president-elect, but it's like when you buy something and it's £99.99. You just think it's such a pedantic, sort of Nibblesworth
What's
away
the
from...
point of us having 99p for something? It's either £1 or £3. What's with this 0.99?
It's so annoying, isn't it? Because then you have to wait. Think of the amount of times you're waiting for a 1 penny change. And add that up and see how much longer you'd have lived if they just rounded everything up to the nearest pound. And what do you do with that penny coin? What do you do with it? There's usually a tin there. And sometimes I go, put it in the tin, and then I feel, how cheap am I? You know, that's not going to feed
Same when they have the half p.
Yeah.
But you have to wait for your receipt anyway, don't you?
Not necessarily.
What's receipts got to do with it?
What's receipts got to do with it? What's receipts got to do with anything at all?
The thing is, it's just the fact that they think that we're so stupid that we
They're
don't...
just pieces of paper!
Okay. That we don't realise that $9.99 is £10.
Yeah. I know.
So that's why they do it, isn't it?
Well,
Pieces of paper!
Ignore him. And yet they continue to do it in shops, so it must have some validity. I'll tell you where you don't get it, and that's up at the top end. You know, like you're looking at houses, and you'll see that a house is, you know, something like £295,000.
Yeah.
Once it goes past a mil, they don't do that anymore. They just go 1.1. None of this 1,999,950 pounds.
So it's only the poor that are stupid.
99p!
Right, the million threshold is quite a threshold. So there used to be a lot of houses bubbling away at sort of 875.
It's not much of a threshold now, though, is it?
No, I'm sure you could buy Berkshire now for about 750. Alan, I'll let you crack on to the quiz night. Good luck, friend. What's your favourite all-time quiz question?
Name me the 5 presenters of Gladiators.
What, the current ones?
All the presenters of Gladiators.
Oh, presenters, sorry.
Oh, there go the starting.
All right, bye-bye. And there we must leave him. The presenters of Gladiators, I can't be asked, really.
Ulrika Johnson.
Yes.
Isn't Sharon Davies a modern one?
No, I don't think Sharon Davies ever did it.
Don't know. One of the Fashanu brothers.
One of the Fashanu brothers?
John Fashanu?
That's right.
The one who didn't commit suicide?
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
Obviously.
And then... Oh, I don't care.
No, nor do I.
My favourite quiz question is, who won the FA Cup and never scored a goal? It's a good question. I won't tell you the answer. But even though I know neither of you like football, you loathe it, don't you, Fiona?
I do.
And Sarah?
I'm indifferent. I have to put up with it.
Why is that?
My husband supports Crystal Palace.
Crystal Palace?
I know.
What an odd thing.
It is rather odd.
I didn't think anybody supported Crystal Palace. It's so suburban. You know?
I know.
Most football teams are either sort of seriously urban, you know, like Arsenal, Manchester United and Liverpool.
And he doesn't come from that area either.
No, it's bizarre.
He's lived by the sea for the entirety of his life.
Yes, or else you get seaside towns or rural towns.
Portsmouth would be understandable.
Portsmouth, Brighton.
Yeah.
But Crystal Palace. So you just tolerate it.
I tolerate it.
Right, well, the question is then, who won the FA Cup and never scored a goal? And this is a great question. I'm just going to leave it there in order to annoy you. Whilst we say good evening to Steve in Atlanta. Steve.
Hello.
Hi, say hello to Sarah, who is our newsreader this evening, and a new voice on Play 2.
You definitely sound nicer than Matt.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. And Fiona's here as well, of course. What's been going on in Atlanta?
Oh, it's the weather's really weird. It was freezing yesterday, and now it's like in the 60s. Fahrenheit, that is.
Yeah, okay. What's it normally like in winter in Atlanta? Because, of course, you Americans have strange winters, don't you? 8 feet of snow sometimes, and the same place in the summer can go to 110 Fahrenheit.
Well, that's how it is in Buffalo. There's a lot of snow because of the lakes. You could have 8 feet of snow.
Yeah.
And during the summer, you know, because of the lake, it's really nice and draws a lot of sun in. But here it never snows, literally.
Never seen snow?
I grew up in New York. I just moved down to Atlanta, but it didn't snow all of last winter, and people around here say it never snows.
You're looking in good shape this evening. We're getting the cameras back in the studio so that we can stream pictures of everybody who calls in, which I think is a fantastic thing. You're looking very dapper. Is that a waistcoat you've got on there, boy?
Looking very handsome.
Yes. Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Very dapper indeed. Now, listen, what I want to ask you is whether you'd be prepared to do an occasional... Do you remember Alistair Cook's Letter from America?
I remember Alistair Cook. He was the host of Masterpiece Theatre over here. But I never heard Letter to America.
No, it was a bit of an institution. But it was all written down and then read out by Cook himself, which is a bit formal for us. But I just wondered whether you might be interested in an occasional slot posting your own view of what you've heard about the United Kingdom by an American in Atlanta. I think it would just give us a nice perspective on how the rest of the world sees us.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I mean,
Good.
you know, I probably have a little more of a knowledgeable view of the UK because, you know, I've worked, you know, for Radio 4. I've, you know, went to school in University of Warwick for a year. But, hey, I'm willing to pretend to be an ignorant American.
No, not that at all. It's just like, you know, when you step back from anything, you step outside your own life and look at yourself, or you step back from a relationship and look at it, you know, that perspective can be very invigorating. And,
well,
go on.
I was going to say one thing that is interesting is I always had this vision of London as this great city, and then when I went to university at in Coventry, which was like 2 hours by train, I used to try and get into London all the time, and I've always admired London. And until recently, listening to the London-based radio stations, they make it sound like such a hellhole.
Yeah.
Now I've become, like, frightened of going back.
No, you don't need to do that, but...
Well, no, I mean, like... Or not, should I say, frightened of going back, but, like, it used to be one of the places I thought I could live.
Yeah.
And now I think of it as a place that's, like, kind of unsafe and scummy.
That's what I want to hear, and everybody wants to hear, in the UK at least, is how the rest of the world views us, because we think... We have, like Americans on America, we Brits have one set of views about Britain. And hearing, I mean, for example... When Britain ditched, or at least the Tory party, ditched Margaret Thatcher as a leader, and therefore as a Prime Minister, it didn't surprise me at all that the rest of the world, America in particular, were astonished by that, because they assumed that she was some kind of national superhero, which of course she was to a small and committed section of the electorate, but broadly speaking she was regarded as a bit of a pariah. So the views, for example, from abroad of our leaders and the issues that we have in the United Kingdom, and the United Kingdom people generally, British people generally, be very refreshing coming from a Yank.
Okay, well, yeah, you know, I hope I've sort of been doing that, you know, up until this point, but, you know, I'm definitely willing to make it more formal.
Well, I just thought we'd make it a slot, you know?
Because you do it
sure.
so well.
Because you do it so well. I've got a jingle
It's
for
funny.
you.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm going to get Sarah to sing it. Can you sing?
Oh,
This is just a prototype. This has not got the music on it yet. Okay?
okay.
What I've got... Just come in to the mic. No, get nice in. And Fiona, can you sing?
No.
Okay, well, you shut up then. It's something along the lines of... Because his name is Steve.
Right.
He calls himself Fat Steve, although you can see he isn't. So
Well, my name isn't really Steve either.
Isn't it?
No.
Oh. This is interesting. Well, what? Are you fat? So you're not fat and you're not Steve?
No, it's weird. I called Ian Lee's show back when he was on LBC, and I didn't really want to use my real name.
Okay.
And I thought being an American, Fat Steve sounded like the perfect name.
Oh, okay.
And then I just started calling back regularly. And then when I called into your show, it was when Duncan and Stu were there.
Yeah.
And my real name is Stu.
Oh, your name is Stu.
Yeah, so when I called up, I had been talking to Stu on the wireless, so I knew who he was. And so I just said it was Fat Steve, and I realized they could see me.
Okay. And we want to be able to see you. That's why we're getting the technology cranked right up there. So you're not fat, you're not Steve, so that we're going to have to go back into the writing room with the material that I've created for you now. Thanks. You know, I mean, here it goes. Thanks, Stu. But let's just hear what it would have sounded like. Sarah, can you just, off the top of your head, just give me some kind of little jingly melody for... These are the lyrics. You want to write them down?
Okay.
They're not huge, okay? It just goes... He's got chat. He's got banter.
Oh, God, I already know this is going to rhyme.
He's got fat down in Atlanta. Here's Steve. Something like that. That does work, doesn't it, Stu? Except your name's Steve.
Call me fat.
But it does work. The chat and the fat lines. We've got an internal rhyme there. It's like dun mountain greenery bomb. But you see, you've got multitude of rhymes in riches. Give us something, Sarah.
You really have given this some thought, haven't you?
And here's fat. That would be great.
Here's fat. Sarah, see what you can do.
He's got chat, he's got banter, he's got fat down in Atlanta.
Here's fat. I think we should just use that.
Erica calling.
Okay, that's good. You can't descant it at all, Fiona.
I'm not even going to try.
I'll give you an idea of what I've got in mind. And maybe, Steve, if you want to come in as well, because now you know the lyric. Okay? You just need something underneath it, don't you? So, Sarah, could you go again just with the main, and then Steve and I will... And Fiona will just give you a little descant underneath it, and we'll see whether it adds.
Oh, what was that? That was good.
Who did?
That was my fake saxophone.
Oh, I like that.
Anything you want, Steve. Stu. Fat.
Yeah.
Okay. In your own time, and then we'll take the break. Go.
He's got chat, he's got banter, he's got fat down in Atlanta.
Yeah. Fat Steve. It's a work in progress, as we say.
Marvellous.
Now, we've got no money, Steve, but then on the other hand, you won't have to commit to anything. So how do you... what do you think? Just...
You pay me 10 times as much.
Okay. Always good talking to you, friend. So that's nailed on, is it then? The Fat Steve slot.
Yes. Letter from America. Or letter from Atlanta.
Yeah, I think I've got an email for you, so I'll just swap details on that and we'll sort something out, friend.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Take it easy.
Bye.
Nice man, Steve. So good. So there's a slot, and I like it. It's going to be an American perspective on the things, because he reads more about UK news than I do. He knows stuff going off. He breaks stories that I haven't heard. He keeps me posted on the European Champions League matches through the show. Let's just get that jingle one more time, Sarah. Here we go.
He's got chat, he's got banter, he's got fat down in Atlanta.
Fat Steve.
PlayRadioUK.com, part of the Something Corporation. Love film? Then you'll love PlayRadioUK.com with low prices on Blu-ray DVDs. There's also 40% off and save on DVDs under $5. Just click on the lovefilm.com banner at PlayRadioUK.com.
Right then, what was the web address?
PassionOnline.co.uk.
Oh, you would look really sexy in that. Okay, that's in the shopping cart.
Imagine the fun we can have with them.
Yeah. Okay, I've ordered something for you. Something for us. How about this for me?
PassionOnline.co.uk has something for everybody, with a fast, discreet delivery service, competitive pricing, and a free gift with every order for a limited time. See our massive product mix online right now. Click PassionOnline.co.uk, the world's sexiest online shop.
Websites don't always work to their full potential. In fact, they can seem like a mystic art. Wouldn't it be great if you had someone on hand to wave a magic wand that would optimize, improve, and increase traffic to your website? Fear no more. The Web Wizard is here dispensing web wisdom and free tips. Email your question to Jason Rutland, the Play 2 Web Wizard. wizard@playradiouk.com. Then listen at 2:30 p.m. on the last Thursday of every month. The Web Wizard on Play 2 with Argo Internet Business Consultants. Growing your ideas. Click argo.uk.com.
Play 2 UK, The Tommy Boyd Show.
This evening reacting to what the Chancellor, Alistair Darling, had to say this afternoon at 3:30 in the House of Commons with his pre-budget package of measures designed to keep the economy ticking over until the recovery begins. And I think he set a date for that as being around about a year from now, maybe early 2010. So that seems to be the message there. Buckle down, use the few bob extra per week that you're going to get in the shops and with small businesses. Take taxis, in other words. Continue to go to the pub as often as you used to, that kind of thing. And we'll muck in and make it through until the end of next year. So we're talking about that. Catherine Catt will be with us in about an hour's time. Catherine Catt talking about art, and since her profession is that of the sex worker, and she seems to be a world-renowned one, we're also talking about love and love-making, romance and sex, as well as this evening, Francis Bacon, Virginia Woolf from the TV series The Survivors, because besides being a hooker, she is also an art critic. One or two emails coming in, which we'll get to in just a second. Thank you if you've emailed the show, studio@playradiouk.com this evening. But let's go to line 2.
Good evening, am I on?
Yes, you are.
Oh, super. Listen, do you do the lottery, Tom?
Never.
Never done the lottery?
Not once, no, you?
Well, yes, I do it regularly. It made it even easier for myself because I've started to do it online. So I don't even have to go to the newsagents. Right? And this is what happens. Now, this happened to me for the first time the other day. And you do the ticket, like usual, you know, pick the numbers, and you send it off, and they take money off your card. Right? And then you forget about it because, like, you know, because there isn't a ticket on the table. You don't, like, watch the lottery show or anything like that, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
But I got an email on, like, the Monday afternoon. Just dropped into my inbox. And it said, like, important news about your ticket. I thought, flaming heck. Yeah. This must be great. Like, you know, they're going to email you. You have to log on to the site at tenner. Can you believe that?
You're £10 better off.
Yeah, but, like, the way they do it is, like, you know,
Get your hopes
I thought I was
up.
in for a couple mil at least.
You know what we say down our way?
What do you say down your way?
Sucker.
Well, what can you do, you know? I was very disappointed. It was a wild ride, you know, for those 10 seconds when I clicked the link and logged into my lottery
Just
account.
for 10 seconds you were living in Capri.
Yeah.
Just for 10 seconds you drove a Ferrari.
Oh, I was in Florida in the winter.
Of course you were. You never had to work again, but you continued doing the painting and decorating things because you like your friends. Yeah.
My arse.
Yeah, your arse, yeah.
Anyway, I've got, seeing as you're giving away features...
Yes.
Yeah, I've got a good one.
Okay.
Right, I should do a golf report.
What a good idea.
Yes. I'd like to centre it around my exploits, because that makes it more personal and more real.
Okay.
And you can chart my progress from here until the first Europro tournament in April.
Okay. Just looking at the format here, it's a little bald, but I think we can probably beef it up.
All right, how are you gonna beef it up?
Well, first of all, you need a girl. Every show has to have boy-girl nowadays. You've been watching TV, radio. You need a second voice.
You're surrounding yourself by women. I've noticed that.
I've got one for you.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, super.
What we need, you see,
Please
is...
introduce me.
I'm just about to.
Ah.
What we need is, okay, a man that loves his golf, talks incessantly about it, talks about nothing else, will be quite prepared to take his partner on a long holiday to Portugal and never see her from start to finish because he just plays golf all the time.
Absolutely, man.
And she, of course, is that feisty, anti-golf widowhood woman. Yes?
Yes.
So say hello to your co-host.
Yes.
What are we going to call you? Because Steve's just changed his name to Stu.
Has he?
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to use my real name.
Yes?
Which is Jason.
Jason. So, Jason, say hello to your new co-host, and we'll see how you gel. Sarah.
Hi,
Sarah,
Jason.
how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Sorry?
I'm very well.
I didn't ask, but that's great. I'm happy for that.
Good.
How tall are you?
How tall am I? I'm 5'6". There we go.
Fair.
Yeah. So what
height
do you...
and weight in proportion? Could you be an air stewardess?
Sorry, not that we don't call them air stewardesses anymore. They're flight attendants.
Trolley dollies.
That's the question. That's how you got to phrase it.
Or lifebelt demonstrators.
No, I'm being rude. Yeah, great. Listen, let's do it. I love you, Sarah.
Oh,
We just have to see what we're going to need a bit more than this, because what's got to happen is you've got to come in and start going off about golf.
Yeah.
And how unlucky Rory McIlroy was, for example, in Hong Kong on Sunday.
Listen, I don't know, because I've just moved and Sky's not coming till Wednesday. So I haven't had Sky for like 10 days.
Okay, well, I'm just saying that's the sort of...
Very disappointing. Have you lived without Sky for 10 days?
No.
Ah.
No, it is my oxygen.
Yeah, what can you do, man?
But Sarah has to pipe in with a number of sort of picky, chippy remarks about how pathetic this stupid sport is, where you hit a little white ball around for 4 miles.
Will I be committed to doing this, though?
You will, you are.
I've got a problem with follow through, you know? I'm good for something once.
I think I know what you mean, yes.
You know, and then I get bored.
Then you have another idea.
Yeah.
Anyone can have ideas. It's the execution of the ideas. That's the heart of life. The
what can you
execution
do?
of ideas. Okay, well, what we'll do is we'll play around with the format at this end, and we might get back to you.
That sounds like a don't call us, we'll call you. I've heard that before.
Could well be, and I'm not surprised you've heard it before.
No, I'm playing golf every day at the moment, though.
Are you? What, in this weather?
Yeah, it's even better because no one's around.
Let's bring our let's bring your feisty co-presenter in here for a little bit of banter, shall we? How ridiculous is that? A man playing golf in this weather, Sarah?
Well, it's not really necessary, is it? They could... Why play golf this time of year when you can maybe play kind of a golf simulated thing on the Xbox or whatever?
Yes.
Well, I don't like it. I don't like your tone. What do you mean don't play golf on this time of day?
Well, surely you should be spending a little bit more time with your loved ones in the winter. Yeah. Sharing a little glass of port or mulled wine by the log fire.
All right, we live in a centrally heated place with no open fireplaces because the people before us ripped them out. Neither of us drink alcohol, and she's ensconced in front of the TV.
Are you saying that if ever
I go in there and disturb her with a glass of port and set fire to a bit of the corner, she'll kill me for disturbing EastEnders.
Where's your romance, Jason?
Yeah.
Well, you know, look.
So how does it? How does it work in your house then? If your partner is feeling romantic, and so she dresses up in a little baby doll, okay, baby doll nightie, or perhaps a little pair of bunny ears, okay, and then she tells you to sit down in the living room and blindfolds you, and then what does she do? Does she then arrange herself on a fur rug, looking cute, and tells you to take off your blindfold, and you see that she is sprawled in front of a radiator?
Yeah,
a roaring radiator?
Oh, I'm living in you must be living in a parallel universe. That sort of stuff doesn't happen to you after you've been together for 8 years.
How unromantic is that? Throw another towel rail on the radiator.
Yeah, you don't have open fires in Chingford, isn't there? You see, what it is that in the 70s everyone knocked out the fireplaces, didn't they? Yes. Now you've got just box rooms.
But you know the thrust that Sarah was making there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But like, you know, we've evolved past that sort of impressive sex stage to functional, methodical, and you know, occasionally interesting. But generally, you know, it's like, I'll put it to you like this. Neither party probably wants to do it both at the same time, sex. So it's either, you know, it's like...
Are you an early morning man or afternoons or evening?
I'm happy any time of the day, you know, but...
Well, she's happy no time of the day, is that where...
No, she's happy, you know, but women have different things, don't they? They require different...
How can you tell if your partner is interested then in being frisky?
I can see it in her eyes.
Are you sure?
No, absolutely. You know, women's demeanour changes. They puff up a bit.
They puff up a bit.
Yeah, look.
Where?
I'm not as obviously as literally able as you are.
I'm going to ask Catherine Catt when she comes on.
Yes.
If there's any way that a man can tell.
Yeah, absolutely. Look into their eyes and the way they speak and the way they move their head. Like, it's been a long time, so you don't get all that that practice you get like in nightclubs when you're in your 20s, and you know when you get with a girl, you know whether you're going all the way or you're
that's
being
just
kicked out.
That's just the Bacardi talking. What we're going to do is I'm going to put it to Catherine, your question, when she comes on at 10 o'clock, after she's waded through the Bacon exhibition.
Francis Bacon?
Yes.
Overrated tat.
I know, it is, isn't it?
All that art tat. I got thrown out the Serpentine Gallery. You know the Serpentine Gallery?
Yeah.
I was asked to leave there.
What were you
when
doing?
that fool chopped a sheep in half. Oh, what was his name? Hurst.
Yes.
And as the sheep, not the sheep one, it was the man, the man with his bits hanging from the ceiling. I went and I started making a noise. I said, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Disgusting. Against the rules of God, even though I'm not a Christian. And my parents were very embarrassed, and I was asked to leave by the security.
Well, good for you. All I can say is that I'd rather have watched you being thrown out than look at half a sheep.
Well, it was the man hanging from the ceiling with his balls hanging down.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
I went to
off Hannibal Lecter.
I know. I went to an
What a stupid man he is,
Well,
Damien Hirst.
He's very rich.
No, but that doesn't mean anything, does it?
It means he can afford... it means he doesn't have to play the lottery.
Yeah, well, so what? He doesn't get the enjoyment that I do out of it.
What, forgetting that you've even bothered to buy a ticket?
Let me put it to you like this. He will be forever known as the man that cut a sheep in half and put it in a gallery. He will be forever known as a fraud. I, on the other hand, will be forever known as a gentleman and a fine golfer.
All right. Well, you're still off 5, are you?
What? No, I'm way down. I mean, I'm on scratch.
You're on scratch now, are you?
Easy. Yeah, I'm putting in 4 hours a day, man.
Good for you. Good work. Good work. I'm carrying a freak golf injury from having to borrow a pair of shoes to play Goodwood on Friday, and you can imagine what that's like. The blisters. I bled, but I was playing.
Did you?
I did, but you'll get this. I was playing that well that I wasn't going to come in and call it a day because I was hitting almost everything just right. And
were you in the zone?
Yeah, and you know what that's like. Doesn't happen very often to an 18 handicapper like me, but I got the odd...
You're too clever to be an 18 handicapper.
I know, but I don't get to practice 4 hours a day.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Because you're brainy.
Yes, I am.
Right, I've noticed this. Clever people...
Yes.
Sorry, I'm monopolising this.
No.
But clever people play better golf because they think their way around the course. Whereas clusterfucks just boom it into the water all the time.
Yes.
Sorry, I swore.
Yes, that's all right. I'm also quite good at putting people off as well. Sonny has emailed on your problem.
What problem?
Where to begin, really, Jason, but this one. He says, Sonny says, tell Jason's
I don't
wife
have any problems.
a surefire way of bringing some romance
I have my own business.
into their life.
3 properties.
Yes.
I'm good with my penis.
Mm-hmm.
I have the mornings off every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm fine. Look, I'm a fine looking. What problems do I have?
Well, one is that you buy a lottery ticket and then can't be bothered to check it. Tell Jason's wife a surefire way of bringing some romance into their life would be to dress up in a uniform. Sonny says, I'm thinking maybe Fanny Sunderson.
Fanny... People, I don't understand them and their uniforms. What's all that about? Who wants to shag a policewoman out, you know?
I know, but it goes on, doesn't it? We'll talk about that as well with Catherine a little bit later on.
Ask her. Can you ask her?
Yes?
Because I did ask you to do this, but you probably forgot. To get a tariff. I'm interested.
Yes?
Not having ever been with a hooker of quality.
Yeah.
To know how much she charges.
You want to know what her tariff is? All right, Fiona, can you make a note of that? Jason called earlier, wants to know what her tariff is. And whether she's vatable.
I just want to know if it's affordable, that's all.
Yes, of course you do. Me too. But I'm glad somebody else asked. Good talking to you, fella. Now shove off before it gets personal. Ciao. Fanny Sunderson is a world-famous caddy. You knew that, of course, didn't you, sir?
Oh, yes, totally.
Yeah, and you knew that as well. Did not, Fiona?
No, I didn't.
No. OK, where have we got to? Bottom of page 12. I'll just read a couple of emails that have come flying in. Anne, down here in Devon, has texted, "Hello, gorgeous and ladies. I'm not sure if we're a little behind down here in Devon, but I purchased a packet of ciggies today with one of the much-talked-about shocking pictures on. I didn't notice the picture until I put the packet up onto a shelf and glimpsed the underneath back of the packet. At first glance, it looked like a woman having a relaxing facial laying on a massage table, but a closer inspection showed it to be a woman on a mortuary slab. Apart from her colour, I didn't find it at all shocking. But my main point in emailing in about this is that the pictures are placed on the back of the packets where no one really notices that easily, and not at all when they're on the shop shelf. Also, when you pick up the packet to get a ciggy out, you don't see the back of the packet at all. In conclusion, may I suggest that these so-called shocking pictures are deliberately placed for smokers not to readily notice. Because, concludes Anne, they don't really want us to stop."
I don't think who's ever given up smoking as a result of the shocking
finding out that it's bad for you.
Yes.
Oh, is it?
Or smoking kills.
I can't imagine many people do.
No.
But you've never smoked, have you, Fiona?
No.
Shocking habit. Sarah, you've never smoked.
I have.
Good for you. What happened there? Did you?
I was smoking an awful lot, actually.
Yeah.
And then I decided to stop because it was affecting my speaking voice.
Well, which is your,
Yes.
It's your main tool, isn't it?
But my voice got much lower and gravelier. Yes.
Well, I tend to agree with what Anne has to say there, and I have to say that's a very interesting email. And I haven't seen these packets yet with pictures on them. But on occasions when I buy a packet of cigarettes, I do choose not the brand so much as the message.
Really?
Yes, because you see the messages on the shelves, and I sometimes go, "Can I have a packet of Marlboro, please? I'll have smoking may age your skin, please." Because there are some messages I don't want to walk around in my pocket. Do you know what I mean? I don't mind that one. I also don't mind. I'll also go sometimes. Could I have? Let's have a look. Could I have? Smoking may reduce your sperm count, please. Which is another one I don't mind. But some of them I just don't want it in my pocket, so that's how I work that one. And I'm sure it'll be the same with the photographs. Could I have one of the dead lady? Yeah, no, not that dead lady. That dead lady. That's yeah. No, the one on the slab. Yeah. No, I don't want that one, the operation one. No, thank you. And I think a lot of people will probably view it like that. Really.
Maybe.
You know why they're doing it? It's because a man in America sued a cigarette company.
Yeah.
Because he got something terminal, and he said that they didn't warn him that he was going to get something terminal from doing this, and so they had to pay him $30 million.
Well, surely everybody's doing that then, aren't they? Those kind of claims, if one person's done it, they not set a precedent?
Yeah. They have set a precedent, and loads of people have been trying to get it done. So what they do now, the warnings on the packets of fags is primarily so you can't take the tobacco company to court, because it clearly says that you will get something horrible if you smoke these things.
Yeah.
You see? That's the main reason they do it, isn't it?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think so. But I don't think it makes it is literally just for legal reasons, isn't it?
You're listening to Play 2 on Play Radio UK from 8 until 12 on a Monday night. It's myself, I'm Tommy Boyd. Fiona is here on what we call the regular basis. And Sarah is with us tonight, which is fantastic. We have Catherine Catt, who is a full-time professional sex worker and also our regular art critic, coming along at 10 o'clock. You can email studio@playradiouk.com. Switchboard, if you want to do a good old-fashioned phone call, why not? 01243 55 60 60. How retro is that? You can Skype, and VoIP is really the thing that we like best. Our Skype address is play.radio.uk.
PlayRadioUK.com, part of the Something Corporation. Heard a song you love? Then help us by buying your favourite chart CD through Amazon. Just click on the banner at PlayRadioUK.com.
Ever imagined yourself behind the wheel of a Ferrari, Aston Martin or Lamborghini? We'll turn it into a reality with an everyman driving experience. Take control of a Mini from £30, a Ferrari from £75, or try the Audi R8 Thrill Experience from £99. We can also offer that extra special gift this Christmas with one of our driving experience vouchers. For more details or to book, call the company with 25 years in the business. Everyman Driving Experiences on 01 455 841 670 or go to www.everymanracing.co.uk. Your driving adventure starts here.
With Christmas well and truly upon us, you may be thinking about digging out your old festive CDs. The thing with Christmas compilations is they get thrown in some box somewhere, and by the time it comes around again, you've forgotten where you put them and have to go out and buy some more. Well, we have the solution. Just follow these 3 easy steps to seasonal satisfaction. 1. Switch on your computer. 2. Go to playradiouk.com. And 3. Click on Play Christmas. Play Christmas UK. So good, it's Santa's favourite station.
Broadcasting live to the UK. News, information, entertainment, and the best music from the past 40 years. This is Play 2 UK. Tommy Boyd. Call 01243 55 60 60. Email studio@playradiouk.com. Skype play.radio.uk. Now, live from the south coast of England, the Tommy Boyd Show, only on Play 2 UK.
This evening talking about the economy and the Chancellor's measures to try and keep things going until this recession financial crisis ends. We're talking about broadcasting, which is a hangover from last week, but still got quite a few emails coming in on the state of radio and, to a lesser extent, television today, which we will get to, thanks in particular to Horatio Nelson, who sent in 5 sides of thoughts about radio, which is a good read. Thank you for that. You can email studio@playradiouk.com if you want to comment on anything you hear, or a good thing to do is to call in 01243 55 50 55 60 60, or you can Skype play.radio.uk. Stephen Labadie has Skyped in, but we'll just take this call. We'll just take this call first.
Never mind this.
You alright?
Yeah. Hello?
Hello?
Hang on. Hey. Oh, crying out loud. I know. Look, I'm trying to do... I'm multitasking. Phil, please, I think that's inappropriate music to present a slideshow about the Eiger Mountain. Please, would you turn it down, will you? Hello?
Hello?
Hello, I'd like to make a point, please.
Has it been missed in the debate so far?
No, it hasn't. It hasn't even been brought up. So
go on, then. Hey!
It was more to do. My interest was piqued.
Yes?
Hang on. By Eduardo's suggestion for a golf. Don't fuck about again, please.
Oh! Me?
Every Monday, the 20th, well, the last Monday in the month, I think there's another one, and there's no reason for him to come round. My friend Phil, my compatriot, what he does is he holds a slideshow of some of his conquests. Is that what it is, Phil? Not really, no. Well, you're calling them. Fucking hell, it's too complicated to explain now, Tom. But, yes, I will calm down. But what I wanted to say is I think it's a splendid idea that Jason is going to hold tips over the winter. And I just wondered whether I could turn as a well, it turns out you're a golfer, Tom. I'm standing here in my Scott and Lyle diamond pattern jumper, yellow and grey. You got rid of the lycra though, didn't you, Chris? I never wear lycra. And that was merino. That polo neck I had on today, that Umgami polo neck, that was merino, Italian, finest Italian wool. I should be allowed. Anyway, I should be back. So what I wanted to ask is, will you be giving any tips in the same way as Kinky Cat is giving tips how to deal with people with... and I wondered, sciatica, whether I can use it to my advantage in my short game. Oh, yeah, the girls are laughing now. Oh, that's kinkers. They're all laughing as well.
We'll get back to you, Chris.
Okay, then, well, if you can ask him, well,
yeah, we will,
I'll
yeah.
email him.
All right, yeah. Either will be good, yeah, cheers. Oh, he's on form tonight. We had a funny from Chris whilst you were spending a penny, Fiona. You're right there.
I am, yeah.
Because you can't laugh this evening, can you?
No.
What's the problem?
I need some Vaseline.
Yes, where?
On my lips.
Yes, you got what? You got chapped lips.
I have.
And it's painful, that, isn't it, when you can't laugh?
It is.
Because you've got chapped lips. Right, where were we? Have we got a Skype call here? Who's this? Is Stephen there? Hello, Stephen Labadie.
Oh.
No. Okay, digging back out, that's not a problem. Let's take a couple more emails. My only comment on John Gaunt getting sacked, from Talked Sacked, this is Peter, is this. George Galloway described Israel on his show last Friday, and actually I can't repeat what you're saying George Galloway said, in case he didn't say exactly that, in which case I could well be committing some form of libel. So I won't repeat what you've written down here, dear emailer, but thank you anyway. However, the emailer finishes by saying, I smell a rat and double standards with all these sackings going on at Talk Sacked. That's in relation to James Whale, who's gone, Mike Mendoza, who's here with Play Radio, and John Gaunt, most recently departed. What's the latest on the Skype thing, Fiona?
Well, we just had another call, but then they dropped off as well, so it's all right, don't worry.
I'm not worrying. Do I look worried?
No.
Things like that don't worry me. I've never done a lottery. Have you ever done the lottery, Sarah?
Yes, and I do it online.
Okay,
yeah.
And what have you won so far?
£10.
And you spent?
A lot more than that.
Sucker. Let me tell you how it works. They call it the stupid tax. Okay. And my view on it is that if I do one, then I'll have to continue doing the same one with the same numbers every week. Because you don't want to think this is going to be the week that my numbers come up and I haven't done it. Do you do the same numbers every week, Sarah?
Yes, and then I found out my brother does exactly the same.
Well, you can...
Randomly. So if I won it...
Wait a minute. Randomly?
Yes. Well, you see, all of the numbers I choose are kind of family dates of birth. Okay. And I didn't realise he does exactly the same thing.
Right.
So I called him one day to say I've won a tenner. And he went, I've won a tenner too. And then we suddenly realised. It's a bit silly, really.
Yes, it is. It is. I quite like something that somebody said about the lottery, so I repeat it as though it was mine. This guy just went, every Englishman should remember that he has already won life's most important lottery.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Isn't that nice? So I do it on that basis as well. Also, because I do get annoyed in the one stop on a Wednesday and on a Saturday, there's 3 people in front of you in the queue, so you're standing there with a bottle of chocolate and a box of...
A bottle of chocolate?
Bottle of chocolate and a box of wine, yeah. And the people in front of you, they pay for what they want, and then they suddenly go, and can I have... Oh, no, here we go.
And you get some people who say, I have my normal.
Yeah.
And they come up with like £20 note and they do 20 lines for a Saturday night.
I know. And then there are the other people on a Tuesday or a Friday sometimes. They'll do their shopping and then they'll go, can you just see if there's anything on these?
Oh, yeah, they're annoying.
They're annoying. Why don't they check themselves?
I know.
Can you do that? You can, can't you?
Online. You can do it all online.
It's so annoying. It is the stupid tax. No offence.
None taken.
Blimey, Tom. I'll read this differently. This is from Paul, who listens. Where is he? In Farringdon, I think. He says, Blimey, Tom, I just got to the end of the show, and I heard the sad news about Carol and Dave, the Christian from Hove. This was a couple of weeks ago. He says, if I was wearing a hat, I'd take it off to you, mate, like the Pink Panther. You are a gentleman, a scholar, and very probably an acrobat. Nice one. Thank you for that. Just to recap the story, it was, somebody who used to phone in a lot to a show that I did when I was on the BBC a couple of 3 years ago, and I got to know him and his the lady that he cared for quite well, although she was only ever really sort of on in the background. Although I did talk to her a couple of times, and I can't remember what the condition was that she was carrying. You don't say suffering from anymore. Then she passed away, and he called me and asked if I'd pitch up at the funeral. That was all, and so I went. That was all, really. He was a nice guy, and Paul just said, "Well done for doing that." I suppose when I'm watching television and somebody's talking at me down the camera into my living room, and they're pretending they're looking at me, which is what talking to the camera is. You're pretending you're talking to the person. Okay, it doesn't fool me. I know they're not talking to me. Okay, and ditto though on the radio, where it can be a bit more intimate. You know, you turn your attention away from the people in the studio with you, and you start talking to a listener, and you say, "How are you? Hope you're well. This is what we've got on the show tonight. If you get a moment, it would be nice if you called." And there can be a sense that somebody is actually talking with you. But as far as feeling as though somebody I'd never met has died, but listened to the programme, and the person who cared for the person who died got in contact with me and said, "You'll remember Carol, she's passed away, gone before," or whatever you want to say, I didn't find it at all odd or special that I went to the funeral. Because I had actually met her. It wasn't like a sedentary listener who never contacts. I had spoken to her several times on the phone over a period of about 2 years. So I don't... Much as I would like to consider myself noble and magnificent, I don't. She was an acquaintance.
Well...
If somebody rang and said, "My nan listened to you for 12 years and now she's dead, would you come to the funeral?" in Reigate, I might think that's not quite right.
No.
But if you have a conversation... I'd only ever spoken to her on the radio. But that's establishing some kind of a relationship, isn't it? And it's real.
Yeah, and she kind of let you into her life.
Yeah.
I don't think... I mean, I think we underestimate what impact radio can actually have on people's lives. I mean, I know personally that radio has got me through some difficult times in my life, a bit challenging times in my life. And I think for some people it's great, it's good company, and become, you do connect with it more. It is more intimate than television, and especially at night times as well.
Yep. It should be done in a very intimate way at night. I can't see any point in wanting to go onto the radio at 2 o'clock in the morning, kind of going, "Excuse me, hey, how are you? Welcome along. Got a fantastic show lined up for you. A really packed programme this evening." Yeah, because who'd want someone like that talking in the intimacy of a car or a bedroom? So, it's a matter of getting...
But you still want it to be engaging.
Yeah.
It's got to be engaging, particularly in those...
So what I used to do some years ago on another show, but again it was quite late at night, I used to sometimes go, "Can I just have a word with you?" "Yes, you." Because I know, we both know this is slightly artificial, because I can talk kind of to you, even though I don't know exactly who you are. And you can only talk back to me if you get on the phone. But we can always just sort of let a little bit of, disbelief be suspended, as they say, and imagine that I am talking to you. Because I am, in a way. And anyway, all I wanted to say is, are you all right? I suspect you are, but like most of us, not perfectly all right, because that's how it is to be a human being. And I just wanted to say that even though we've never met, I know that you've got a good heart and that you do mean well. It doesn't always quite come off, but hey, a lot of people love you, and I'm sure I would if I... So I do that, okay, and blimey, some of the responses that I got well, some of a lot of them. I got a lot of people saying, "You might find this ridiculous, but those are the exact same words that I've always wanted somebody to actually say to me." Which is not that kind of "I love you, you're fantastic" thing, which is not quite accurate, is it? Because nobody's fantastic. But just that sort of realistic, realistic appraisal of what it's like to be all of us most of the time. And it was a damn sight better than interviewing the gardening expert or whatever. Just a little thing like that that was quite handy. And you say that listening to the radio got you through quite a few challenging.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that my side of that is that being on the radio has got me into quite a few challenging.
And why would that be, Tommy?
I don't know. Very nearly time for the news. A reminder that Catherine will be here from 10 o'clock. Catherine Catt, from the comfort of, well, not her dungeon, although she owns a dungeon, but from the comfort of her own manor. And she's going to be talking about 2 or 3 aspects of art that she's been enjoying over the last 7 days, and she's also available with any thoughts or questions, observations that you might have about what she does, her day job, if you like. She is a world-renowned professional sex worker. So you can email studio@playradiouk.com if you have a moment, and our Skype address once again is play.radio.uk.
Play 2 UK headlines.
2 men have been convicted of murdering Hells Angel Jerry Tobin. The 35-year-old was shot on the M40 as he travelled back from a biker festival in Warwickshire. Simon Turner from Nuneaton and Dane Gartside from Coventry were also found guilty of a firearms offence. The Chancellor has unveiled emergency plans to deal with the financial crisis. From next week, VAT will be slashed from 17.5% to 15%. The super-rich have also been targeted. Anyone earning over £150,000 a year will pay a new higher rate of tax. Barack Obama's turned to the President of the New York Federal Reserve to help America through the financial crisis. The President-elect has named Timothy Geithner as his Treasury Secretary. More people than ever before are choosing to keep babies with Down syndrome. Parents say they feel their children are now more accepted. Ben Kay's been called into the England Rugby Union squad ahead of Saturday's international against New Zealand. The Leicester lock's needed as cover for Tom Palmer, who's struggling with a calf problem. England boss Martin Johnson names his side to face the Grand Slam chasing All Blacks tomorrow lunchtime.
Play 2 UK weather.
Cold, clear and breezy for much of the time with a touch of frost. Occasional showers, sleety on higher ground, will also affect northern and eastern Scotland, eastern England and the far west of both Wales and Cornwall. Looking on to tomorrow, chilly, breezy and fairly sunny, though still a few showers across eastern England, turning overcast and damp across northwest Scotland during the afternoon and other northern parts during the evening.
You're up to date on Play 2 UK. PlayRadioUK.com, part of the Something Corporation, the Play Radio podcast.
I don't know what you're about, mate, 'cause I've never jagged my wife.
Oh, yes. No jag, he says, no jag. That's right, isn't it? You take the money, and you split. You turn and you run, you scumbag.
No, I'm sorry, mate, you must have the wrong number.
No, I've got the right number. I bought this car from you not only yesterday, I've checked the number thrice over, and this is correct.
Want to hear the rest? Just go to playradiouk.com/podcast.
Here she is, my sexy new MP4 player from City-Sales. The latest technology giving me music and video wherever I go, in a range of stunning colors, all for just £60. And here are her matching speakers. Gorgeous! Plus picture keyrings, audio-visual baby monitors. Oh, she's so cute. And the baby's kinda nice too. The hottest audio-visual equipment straight to your door. Just visit city-sales.co.uk. City-Sales. Looking good. Sounding great.
Tommy Boyd on Play 2 UK. The original cunning linguist.
Good evening. You're listening to Play 2 with Tommy Boyd. Tommy's not actually here at the moment. He's just had to nip out for a few moments. So you're here with me, Fiona, and we also have Sarah in the studio.
Hello.
Tonight we've been discussing a variety of things. We've been talking about the pre-budget speech, changes that are coming over the next few years, particularly the drop in VAT as of next week, I do believe 1st of December.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about quite a few things. Coming up tonight at 10 o'clock, we're going to be talking to Catherine Catt, our hooker, our sex worker, who's going to be telling us what she's been up to. She's also our arts critic, so she's had quite a busy week catching up on the arts. She's been to see going to talk about the Francis Bacon exhibition. But she's also had quite a busy week with the media, because there have been lots of proposed changes with the legislation surrounding prostitution. So she's, I think, been a little bit of a media butterfly.
Yeah, media babe.
Yes. So she's going to be telling us a little bit about that. But if you have any questions that you'd like to put to Catherine, then you can give us a call on 01243 55 60 60, or you can email them, and we will read all of your emails out. That's studio@playradiouk.com. Or perhaps you would actually like to give us a call while she's actually on air. We also take Skype calls on play.radio.uk.
Marvellous. OK, let's grab a couple of emails then. Or is this, who's this? Knotwood. Is that somebody standing by on Skype, woman? No.
No, it's not.
No. Okay. All right, just minimise that then. Peter Collins has emailed on The Economy. He says, on Sunday I was having a game of golf with a friend of mine, and he was telling me it has never been a better time to buy a house for people on low incomes, because he told me you can now buy a three-bedroomed detached house. Do you get three-bedroom detached houses? It's rare, isn't it? A three-bedroom detached house.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, you can.
It's rare, that's why I suppose. At 1982 prices.
Sorry, why is it rare?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think that.
Why is it rare?
You can get lots of three-bedroom detached houses.
Lots of.
Yeah.
No, they can't.
Yeah.
It's unusual. Detached houses
I had
are
a
usually
brief
four.
spell as an estate agent
Yes?
doing the negotiating side, and there were
Yes.
lots of three-bedroom detached houses.
What does a three-bedroom detached house look like then?
Well, they were
Not
mostly
very
kind
big,
of
is it?
70s,
Yes.
70s, early
Ah.
80s style. There's
Yeah.
lots of those.
Well, I was brought up in lots of semi-detached three-bedroom houses, but I would have always thought that because detached is such a status thing, isn't it? People like to have a detached house, don't they?
Yeah.
They mention it a lot. If it was detached.
Well, my sister lives in a three-bedroom detached house, and
Yes.
it's just a standard-looking house.
Yes, but
very
it's
nice.
detached.
Yes.
Do you
It's
think
detached.
that means so much to some people?
I think it does. I think people would rather live in a three-bedroom detached house than a seven-bedroom semi. A lot of people would.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah. Well, no, it's wrong, really.
And you know, I grew
It's
up.
a bit snobbish.
I grew up in a three-bedroomed detached bungalow.
Well, yeah, that's different though, isn't it?
It would be, wouldn't it? Why is it different?
Why is it different? Because you can't get many more bedrooms on a bungalow. Because a bungalow has got a downstairs with a living room, isn't it? Downstairs it's got to have a kitchen, a living room, a bathroom. So it's got 6 rooms downstairs, minimum.
Right.
Now, if you've got 6 rooms downstairs and you buy a bungalow, okay, and you've got planning permission, then you can turn it into a mansion, because you could have 6 bedrooms upstairs. See, it's a good investment.
Did he just turn that round somehow?
No,
Magically?
what have I turned round? I'm just using logic.
to just turn it around.
I'm just using logic.
Tommy Boyd's logic. There's nothing unusual about a three-bedroom detached house.
Yes, there
Not at
is.
all.
The average detached house is 4 to 5 bedrooms. It has to be.
No.
It does. Because, look, well... No.
It's just you're just being snobby.
But you can get 2-bedroom detached, tiny little cottages, can't you?
Yes, but then Tommy would say that's a cottage, and that's
Exactly,
different.
it is. A cottage is not a detached house.
But cottages are still houses. They're
But
just...
the word detached does have some impact on the description of a piece of property. It makes you go, oh look, because if you're brought up in a maisonette or a block of 4, or end of terrace or mid terrace, then you yearn for a semi-detached, because one of your walls is not going to have the neighbours.
Yeah.
Okay, and then if you manage to climb the dizzy heights of a semi-detached, then you yearn for a detached, because then you haven't got neighbours on any walls. You know. And I can live with that, because our first house was semi, and it was a lovely house. But we could still hear when Frank went to bed.
Yeah.
Because of the way you go up the stairs. Okay?
With the
That's the
wooden
bloke
leg.
next door.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
well, no, he just made a noise going upstairs. The stairs creaked. And because the noise in the middle of the night, you see, this is the thing. It's quiet. We lie there and we go, there goes Frank. You see? And also, we got, when my first son was born, my wife decided she wanted to go back to work. So for a brief period, we had a nanny.
Right.
And she slept in the spare bedroom at the back, which adjoined it was the adjoining wall. And she used to make love to her boyfriend so noisily
Oh, no.
in the bedroom that we could hear it the other side of the landing, right? So God only knows what Frank and Thelma thought. Because it was the thud of the headboard more than any noises.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they never thought to just pull the bed away from the wall. So we would be lying there and we would just be hearing dum, 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 and we knew
Well, of course.
what it was. You see, now, and I've lived in flats, but luckily only on the top floor.
Right.
But I did have a lady come up to me one day, knock on the door, and she's a lady who lived underneath me, and she just said, "Could you ask your girlfriend to stop walking around in stilettos?" Which was a big ask. But it was fair enough. She had been walking around on the floorboards in the living room, because we took the carpet up and stained the floor, as you do, which is a stupid thing to do in a flat because of the noise. I didn't think. But my girlfriend at the time took great delight in making a noise. She actually took delight in the cluck, cluck, click of stilettos on their floorboards. It's just it's got to do with not having to hear strangers in your own house.
It's like when you're on holiday, because I think that's probably the only time that I actually sort of experience what it'd be like to live in a flat, where you're actually in a sort of an apartment block where you've got perhaps somebody upstairs above you or somebody below you. And of course, on holiday, the apartments are always stone floors, aren't they, with table and chairs that as they get people always drag them across the floor, don't they? You know, that awful sort of screaming noise as the chair of the leg of the chair scrapes along the stone floor. Oh, so annoying. I couldn't live like that.
So in the 70s, probably, when this kind of intolerance was at its height, the architects built a lot of 3-bedrooms detached houses just so that people wouldn't have to put up with the scraping of furniture or women in stilettos. She wasn't wearing much else besides stilettos, I have to say, at the time.
Fat Steve has added, it's a bungalow. I'm not quite sure.
It's a bungalow.
It's a bungalow, he says. I'm not quite sure what that's in response to.
But thank you for that, Fat Steve, also known as Stu.
I can't think of him as Stu. He's fat. I mean, he's not fat, but you know.
Steve is one of the people who we're asking if they'd like to contribute a slot on a regular basis. We'll package it so that they'll have their own jingles, and you get a chance to do whatever it is you want to do within that slot, whether it's be eccentric or be objective or a bit of both. And it doesn't have to necessarily be about anything in particular either. I just quite like the idea of giving over a piece of what we do on Play 2 with our talk slots, giving over a piece of that to listeners who want to do something, whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes or even half an hour. I'm up for it. It's an extension of the human zoo. It's more than the human zoo because we're talking about it being some kind of a slot. And like I say, it can be, you know, that dear guy Chris who's... Hey! He's got me... I got my media player. He could do one. And Steve as well. And if it's something that vaguely interests yourself, listening, either live or maybe you're podcasting this a few days or even a couple of weeks later, and it's something you'd like to think about, then get in touch with me. My email address at this place is tommy@playradiouk.com. tommy@playradiouk.com. Tamsin has emailed. We're about 25 minutes away from Catherine Catt. She says, I don't know. This is on the subject of the economy. I don't know, she says. For the last few years, we've had Gordon Frown talking prudence and clutching his purse. Now suddenly we have a darling talking about fiscal stimulus. She says, this is a bit more interesting. Maybe something that Catherine could join in with. But a small cut in VAT. Yes, the drop in interest rates is significant, but VAT, are we really going to rush out and buy new cars because they're £80 cheaper? A lot of us did that calculation when we found out that VAT was dropping by 2.5%. We worked out how much we'd be better off if we were to now go and buy a pair of trousers, which had been £40.
Right, how much?
I think they'd be, well, what's 2% of £40? 10% of £40 is £4, so 2% of fifth of £4
it's
is
pennies, isn't it?
Well, it's about £1.
Yeah.
So it's about £1 in every 40. So if you're paying VAT on everything you buy in a supermarket, and your bill used to come to, say, for a family of 4, it could quite easily come to £80 a week in a supermarket. It's now going to be £78 a week.
But it's not it doesn't affect the food, though, does it?
Did we find out about that?
Well, Lou says, taken from financialtimes.com.
Yeah.
Many household products, food, newspapers, children's clothing are already exempt. Fuel is paid at a much lower rate.
So it's speedboats, isn't it, really? Tamsin goes on. Are we really going to buy a new TV? Although she says, I'm sure a lot of us need them after Timmy Mallet appeared on our screens and we threw heavy objects at him. By the way, Tommy, did you ever hit him? I didn't know. I wanted to, but I didn't actually hit him, no.
Does he do that stupid laugh all the time?
Yes.
Really?
It's like that all the time.
Is he married?
Yes.
Does someone live with that the whole time?
He married his agent.
Wow. Does she have any other clients?
No. Not as far as I know.
Female agent?
That's the last I heard, and I'm absolutely not an expert.
Female?
Yes, he's married his female agent, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Children?
A telling question there. One. As far as I remember. As far as I know. But, you know, a lot of people are very successful on television because you want to watch them. People want to watch them partly because they're glad that they'll never have to meet someone like that. There's an enormous fascination in knowing that there are people like that on the planet, in our country, because you don't get people like that in your everyday life. Many of the people on television and radio are people that like the people that you know and work with. There's a normalness about them. But one or two characters, like say John McCririck, for example, the racing betting guru. You know, double carpet up the arm, 33-1. Him, you know, unusual.
He's revolting.
But maybe he's a very nice man, actually. But anyway, Mallet is, you know, a character. There aren't many of them about.
Is that his real name, Mallet?
Yes, it is his real name. John has emailed on the Chancellor's efforts this afternoon. He says, well, I am amazed at what a mess this country's been allowed to get into. We're shafted at every turn. We're screwed on a daily basis. The banks are bank robbers and we are expected to... Steady, John. The banks are bank robbers and we are expected to go and spend money which we don't have on people we don't really like at a time when we are in recession. But they ignore this. Labour, it's been hard, Labour, and it will be for the year ahead. But what bloody choice do we have? The Conservatives screwed us for 18 years, and nobody in their right minds will ever vote them back into power. But that means we have the bloody Labour shitehawks left. It's not good at all. We are all buggered. Not amused. Can't think what will happen. We'll wait and see. I will try to listen to the Sunday night metamorphosis on the podcast. Thank you for that, John. A little diatribe there. A little meander. Yes. Thank you for that. And an anonymous email. It says, it was very interesting to hear you speak of people's reactions at night time and how you spoke to them. I think some presenters don't understand the anguish they can cause to a listener when they find a listener's weakness and go in for the kill. I've heard a presenter whip up a tremendous feeding frenzy towards a listener. I don't know if it was intentional or whether it just happened, but feeding frenzy was exactly what happened. To hear the presenter and the producer tear the person to shreds was pitiful. It immediately caused a deluge of insulting emails that were read out one after the other. It's very sad when this happens. Thank you for that. I would just comment that I always make a distinction between listeners and people who call in.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you call in, it's a bit like going up on stage when the hypnotist says, would anybody like to come up and be made to behave like a chicken? Not surprisingly, you end up behaving like a chicken. But it was your decision to go up there.
Yeah.
And you knew that you were going to be hypnotised. And if you phone a phone-in programme, which I presume is what this emailer is referring to, and the presenter that you're talking to perhaps is known to be occasionally quite volatile, then really you know what you're getting into, I think, generally speaking.
Yeah.
I had this argument, well, not an argument really, because it didn't last very long, but with a chap called Kelvin Mackenzie, who bought a radio station that I worked at many years ago, and I saw him the second day he moved in, and he went, "Don't be rude to the listeners," he said to me. I said, "I'm not." He said, "You are, I hear you." I said, "No, I'm being rude to some callers." I said, "But they're not listeners." And I explained what I've just said, you know, to you guys about the difference between a listener and a caller. And he said, "Oh, you're splitting hairs." But I wasn't splitting hairs. I mean, it's a important point. It's funny that, isn't it? When somebody says something to you that confounds your argument, it's very tempting to say things like, "That's not the point." Isn't it?
Yes.
Or, "That's different." Somebody once said to me, "No conspiracy theory has ever been proved right." I said, "Well, what about Watergate?" And he went, didn't bat an eyelid, just went, "That's different." Anyway, it's just gone 22:10, and we're about 10 minutes, quarter of an hour away from the absolutely one and only Catherine Capp, who this evening talking about Francis Bacon, talking about the Survivors TV series, and also a novel that she's just finished by Virginia Woolf, and also talking about wearing her other hat, no doubt a very exotic one, the world of the sex worker. So if there's anything you want to ask her, studio@playradiouk.com. You could Skype a question in. play.radio.uk is our Skype address.
PlayRadioUK.com, part of the Something Corporation.
Right then, what was the web address?
PassionOnline.co.uk.
Oh, you would look really sexy in that. Okay, that's in the shopping cart.
Imagine the fun we could have with them.
Yeah. Okay, I've ordered something for you. Something for us. How about this for me?
PassionOnline.co.uk has something for everybody, with a fast, discreet delivery service, competitive pricing, and a free gift with every order for a limited time. See our massive product mix online right now. Click PassionOnline.co.uk, the world's sexiest online shop.
My dad knows how to keep my mum sweet. He logged on to Play Radio UK and treated her to some amazing Swarovski jewellery from the Scala Jewellery. My mum's so lucky because the Scala Jewellery designed all their jewellery in the UK, and then it's handmade in Italy with Swarovski stones. They design jewellery for celebrities and royalty too. It's probably the best costume jewellery in the world. So come on, all you dads, go to playradiouk.com and click on the Scala Jewellery today.
Looking for something to watch on TV? Then, well, watch Something. Something is here, with a massive choice of viewing for the whole family. Something for mum, something for the kids, and with Setanta Sports including FA Cup, Premiership and England qualifiers for just $9.99 a month. Something for dad too. In fact, there is something for everyone. Call Something on 0871 664 1500 or go to www.something.info.
Something. Tommy Boyd on Play 2 UK, a super song of sanctity in a weird and wacky world.
10:15 UK time. If you're listening live on a PC or on a laptop in the UK, it's myself, Tommy, with Fiona here and Sarah as well. Quite a few emails to get through, and Catherine will be with us in about a quarter of an hour. Paul says, just wanted to thank you and Fiona for these Play Radio shows. I've got ears, and I think this internet radio thing is just what they were made for. I know I chuck in the odd gag, but as I mainly podcast, I actually feel a bit guilty that I can't contribute more. These 8 hours a week are such a beautiful education in many ways that I feel I should be giving something back. Paul goes on, I'm currently listening to Tuesday's episode, and I feel like I'm on a roller coaster, from Fiona's emotional comments about Baby P to the discussion about Fiona's occasional resprays. This is where we were talking about the fact that Fiona occasionally goes to a man.
This is a man.
It is a man.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name? No, don't say. Christian name, first name. Simon. Occasionally goes to Simon and steps out from behind a curtain, originally wearing just a thong, but now that you're a bit bolder, buck naked, yes?
Oh, no, no, Stacey. No, I wear a thong.
You do wear a thong?
Yes, I used to wear a thong and a little bit more.
Okay, but you're down to a thong now?
Yes.
Okay. And he sprays her. Takes about 5 minutes?
Not even that.
I take it this is a tanning-based spraying.
It is.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Creosote, yeah.
What else might it have been?
Well, I was just presuming it was the right thing.
We're all different. Yeah, so you ask a good question, though. Yes. Yes, it was to get yourself nicely tanned. Paul finishes by saying, tell Fiona every 2 weeks isn't occasional. You said it was apparently on the tape. You said you occasionally have this done every 2 weeks.
Yeah, I was probably being a little bit coy.
Coy? You? Mind you, let's be honest, he says, if I had a job that involved standing in front of half-naked women in thongs all day, I'd be offering them discounts too.
Yeah, there's only one slight problem with that.
What?
Well, I think he would prefer that it was a man stood there in a thong.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. That makes you feel a bit more comfortable doing it, does it?
It made me feel, put it this way, on days when I'm standing there thinking, oh, I really shouldn't have eaten so much this week.
Yes.
It makes me feel more just like a slab of meat to him rather than, you know.
Yes.
Because I know that he wouldn't be looking, thinking, ugh. Well, actually, no, he would be looking, thinking
Yes.
that, but not for the same
don't know.
reason.
Do gay men, if they look at women, do they feel the same kind of slight revulsion that straight men feel when they look at naked men?
I think...
Because I don't... I mean, does your husband go, ugh, if a naked man came on television unexpectedly?
Well, he'll kind of avert his eyes a bit.
Yeah, but you kind of go, oh, dear. You know, men do.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think gay men find that same kind of revulsion looking at women.
Well, I can't obviously answer that from a gay man's perspective, but I would imagine that perhaps just indifferent to it.
Yes.
Not, you know,
yes.
Obviously not excited by it.
Yes. Can I just say as well, in case it crosses your mind again, that for the next 10 or 15 years at least, you will not be a slab of meat. All right, and I don't want the concept either, because my mind went straight to what sort of meat would she be, you see. And for some reason, I saw one of those teetering and wobbling, upright bricks of corned beef that you get if you lift the lid off quite carefully, having worked the little key all the way around.
Yes.
And I don't want to see you like that.
No.
Because not many slabs of meat stand up. That's why I went to the corned beef model.
Yeah, I was thinking more like kebab, you know, on a turntable.
How do they get those elephant leg turntables? How do they do that? It's just meat piled onto a skewer, isn't it?
Yeah, they're kind of, it's all kind of bits of different things, all kind of formed and squished.
And so how long is the meat at the centre there for? Because you never see a thin one, do you? You never see it down to the last, like 2 inches.
Well, you'd rather hope they have a fresh one of those every night.
Well, of course
you do, but where can you buy them? Exactly. I was in Spain a while ago, and we found a restaurant, and it was quite nice. And the chap behind the thing, he said, yes, I've been out here 9 years now, running my own restaurant. He said, it's bloody hard work. He said, and sometimes I wish I was back in Leamington, but there it is, he said. And I finished my meal, and I hadn't quite finished it, but I was full up. So I said, I'm sorry about that. He said, oh, that's all right. He said, that'll go in the stock pot. He said that to me.
No.
Yes.
You don't admit that.
Wow.
Well, you don't do it, but especially...
It was
you
an
don't even
open
admit
kitchen area, so you know those ones where you can see the chef, you know, frying your eggs and, you know, cooking the mussels and all that sort of thing. So it was quite a decent restaurant. It wasn't a bucket shop or anything like that. It was a decent restaurant. And he was a big lad, and you could tell he liked his food. And he said, it's over there. And he had a stock pot, and it was just... big cauldron it was. And I said, is that all right then? Oh, yes, he said, as long as the stock pot just keeps going. He said, it kills anything. He said, that is the most hygienic food I've got here. It's me stock pot.
Really?
I said, well, does it go all through the night then? He said, that stock pot hasn't been off the boil for 9 years. How about that? That's what he told me.
Ugh.
I know.
Imagine all the things living in it. Or
no, that's the point, because it's on the boil. So that it's on the boil. It's on the simmer permanently. So anything like that is killed.
I think one of those kitchen nightmares programmes would have a real go at that.
Well, you don't know, do you?
We need someone to tell us about the science behind a bubbling stock pot.
Can I just pick up on what Paul was saying, though, about contributing to the show? Because, you know, obviously we value and welcome all contributions to the show.
Yeah.
So if anyone, or if you are listening right now on podcasts and you'd like to contribute, then you may still email Tommy during the week on tommy@playradiouk.com, and we will read all the emails out that come in, even if they are sort of, you know, a couple of weeks after we've discussed a particular subject. We'll still read them out, won't we?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Very good.
And there's also no reason why, even if, for example, you may be driving right now, so you're not actually able to listen to the show when it's going out live, and that might be why you choose to podcast. If you know the hours that we broadcast, you could always ring, providing it's safe for you to do so, from the cab, and we can tell you what the subjects are that we're discussing, and we can have a chat to you while you're driving along.
Well said. Well said. I've got this in from Anonymous, who says, when your husband does something that makes you angry, don't give in to the temptation to argue, fuss and fight. Just count to 10, remain calm, and then, after he goes to bed, superglue his flip-flops to the floor. I suppose that is a good one, isn't it? Because you do just, you know, put your flip-flops on and go forward, don't you? So you're gonna go over, which is fabulous. And Happy Tree has emailed, or are we going Skype or emails? Fiona?
Let's talk to Chris on Skype.
Oh, finally comes to his
you can't saying.
Oh, no.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, I bet you're unbuggering this up.
You are.
Yes. Okay. Well, I'll discontinue the feed, and I'll ring you. I was just trying to let me know omnidirectional ultra condenser. What's it called, Phil? Oh, the parabolic reflector mind.
Good try. Yeah, good try. Now, Happy Tree says about the role that radio can play in people's lives. Been talking a bit about radio, which is sort of under the spotlight, not as much as I think it should be. What with so many people and programmes and formats and shows feeling frightened. I phoned a friend of mine who works in radio today, and the only way I could do it was by phoning the phone-in switchboard of the show he works on, and I've never heard so much fear. It was as though, you know, I was like the Inland Revenue or the CIA or the Nazis or something, and all I was doing was phoning, and I just wanted to say, could you give X a quick message? You see, but they picked the phone up, and there was this sort of really, I won't say the name of the radio station or the name of the guy, but there was this kind of, we'll say they're called CAKL, okay, in Warrington. Okay, and this voice went, ring, 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 ring. And this voice, the switchboard operator, the call screener went, KCL, Warrington. I said, yeah, can I speak to X, please? What about? What about? I said, I thought, right. I said, well, I just thought I'd have an argument with him. And he went, it's not a wind-up, is it? I said, no. He said, because we do have 7-second delay. I thought, well, you're making me feel really as though I want to get involved in your radio station, mate. You really are. You know, but it was quite clear that there's a climate of fear now, isn't there, in a lot of radio? Because with so many people getting sacked and what have you, and the possibility of radio stations getting fined right, left and centre, everybody's absolutely terrified. So, Happy Tree says, about the role radio can play in people's lives. When my dad passed away suddenly 9 years ago, I was living in, is it Aix-en-Provence?
No idea.
Aix-en-Provence?
Merci beaucoup. Thank you. And I happened upon Talk Radio. It was the only English-speaking radio I could get on the airwaves. My mind was too confused to want to listen to French at that time. There was a lot of interference with the signal that had to cross the channel and all of mainland France to get down to me. But with a little EQ juggling, I managed to make it listenable between the hours of 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. And to say it was a lifeline is no exaggeration. In those days, there was a lot of esoteric programming. James Whale seemed to have a spiritually aware or philosophical guest on just about every night. Well, that was the way it seemed to me, since my interest in that side of life had just been kicked into overdrive, and I drank it all down greedily. Happy Tree goes on, I really don't know what I would have done if that hadn't been available to me. It seemed as if my mind was no longer asking but demanding answers from the universe, and it provided me with a ready supply to think about. This all culminated in a Human Zoo broadcast on the 29th of July 2001, which is a definite point in my life after which nothing would ever be the same again. A story for another day. Radio is a very special, intimate medium, and I think it means a lot more to people than other media. It is the most touchingly human type of broadcasting we've ever devised. So we thank all of you for the sterling service you provide. That's a charming and
as always,
perceptive email, but it hasn't got me hankering for what was the broadcast to know the date.
Yes.
I don't even know what the date is today. The 23rd. No. Exactly. But Happy Tree knows that it was on the Human Zoo on the 29th of July 2001. Now you want to know the answer to that?
Yeah.
Has anything you've ever heard on the radio or seen on television, Fiona, ever really changed you or everything? Anything? Surely some news things, yes. But something personal? Did something really ever hit a nerve?
No one thing, no.
No.
What about you?
Me? I'll have a think. I don't think so. Not in the way that Happy Tree hints in that email. I remember 2 days after John F. Kennedy, the American president, was assassinated, there was a news program on the television, I think it was ITV News, and about the second or third story simply said that although Lee Harvey Oswald had been arrested in connection with the assassination, a number of eyewitnesses at the time said that they had seen what they thought was gun smoke coming from a grassy knoll away from the book depository where he was supposed to have been shot from. And that made my ears prick up. And then I heard nothing more about the conspiracy that somebody else killed JFK for about 10 years. But I've never forgotten just that little moment. And it makes the idea that there was a conspiracy all the more likely, although I'm not convinced. all the more likely, because there it was, just embedded in a little casual news report shortly afterwards. But no, I don't think anything's really changed the way I've thought about the universe or life in general or myself.
Yeah. Just something that I was thinking about earlier this week, last week I should say. You know how we try to censor our programming on television to try to protect the ears of children?
Yeah.
Well, I do find it interesting that even though we live in that kind of world where we try to do that, we're quite happy to every hour, half an hour, 15 minutes to have on news bulletins some of the dreadful, quite graphic details about some of the dreadful news stories that in the last couple of weeks have actually made me have to very quickly turn the volume down.
Yep.
Because I don't want to explain.
Yep.
I think there was an incident where a guy had killed his wife, a child's mother, and locked the body away in the boot. What do you call those? The car storage things. What do you call them?
Oh yeah, no, I heard about that.
Yeah. And this was all quite sort of described in the news bulletins, and I was thinking, I don't want my children asking me questions about that.
No, you're absolutely right. I'm completely and utterly, totally so with you on this, that there should be censored news until 10 o'clock at night. And by censored, I mean, I can think of some things that I've seen on the news. I saw something only about 10 weeks ago. It was part of BBC News 24, where they really do have to find stories, and if they've got any footage at all, they'll put it out, almost regardless of its content, because they just need to fill all that expanse of airtime with things other than a man or a woman sat behind a desk. And so they had some footage of something that occurred during the Chinese earthquake of about 8 or 12 weeks ago. If you remember, 30,000 people were killed. It came on the air at 10 to 6 in the morning, which was 10 minutes before they were due to start their children's programmes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll never forget it. It was horrendous.
But they show you images of people who've been beaten up so badly that they're facially disfigured, and they'll show the picture, and that's like a horror movie.
And the mock-up of Baby P, showing all the bruises and the... No, you're right. So what should we do about it, Fiona? Are we going to do nothing about it, or are we going to write to somebody?
Well, I think we should write to somebody.
Yes, it's about children, isn't it?
It is about children, and the thing is, television's one thing, but when you're driving along in the car and you think you've got, a safe programme on that's not going to damage your children's ears in any way, and then this news story comes on with graphic details about children and people getting butchered, and I just think, and they don't give you enough warning that,
And what you mustn't do is transmit to your children that you're in any way overly concerned about any of this.
No.
So on occasions when I had to turn off the radio or turn off the television when my boys were smaller, I made a point of doing it as casually as possible. And I sort of go, I wonder if there's any nice music on. There we go, like that.
Yeah.
But they're no more gibbering wrecks than I am, so obviously maybe children are a bit tougher. Or don't look at me like that, Fiona. I know what you're thinking. Let's play some commercials, and I like being able to refer to them. It's one of the extra freedoms of being on new media. We're going to play some commercials. I insist that you buy everything that's on offer here, and then on the back end of that, it'll be time for Catherine Capp this evening, talking about Francis Bacon and Virginia Woolf, and any aspect you care to raise about her other job, her main job, of course, as a sex worker.
PlayRadioUK.com, part of the Something Corporation. Get Play Radio at your fingertips by downloading our exclusive toolbar. Get the latest updates from Play Radio UK, check out the webcams, or find out your local weather. It's even got its very own search engine. Download the toolbar now by clicking on the banner at PlayRadioUK.com. The soundtrack to your festive season. Play Christmas UK.
Ho, ho, ho! Hello, boys and girls. Santa here.
Pipe down, Rudolph. Ho, ho, ho. As you can tell, Christmas in the Claus household is well and truly underway. As with any family, it's a busy time for us too, and sometimes things can get a little heated, with Mrs. Claus always wanting to listen to Play Rock, when all I want to listen to is my favourite festive songs on Play Christmas. Nothing but the season's music from the Play Radio Network. Now, where did I put that eggnog? Ho, ho, ho.
Play Christmas UK.
Part of the PlayRadioUK.com network.
Want to see Wonderbra star Katie Green, Lee Francis, the man behind Avid Marion and Keith Lemon, Sunday League Madness, Jimmy Carr, 2009's Best Games Reviewed, and brand new Jennifer Ellison picks. For the fittest women, the biggest celebs, and the loudest laughs, get loaded. New issue on sale now.
Broadcasting live to the UK. News, information, entertainment, and the best music from the past 40 years. This is Play 2 UK. Tommy Boyd. Call 01243 55 60 60. Email studio@playradiouk.com. Skype play.radio.uk. Now, live from the south coast of England, the Tommy Boyd Show, only on Play 2 UK.
And live from her own headquarters is Catherine. Good evening, Catherine.
Hi, good to talk to you.
How are you? Good week?
It's been an interesting week, very busy, responding to media inquiries about the government's new proposals in law. So it's been great to have to take some time out to do things that I can talk about this evening.
Well, we must come back to that this evening if you've got time. And I know you also wanted to talk a little bit more about sex and the disabled and the services that you provide there.
Yes.
So we'll talk about that at some point this evening. And also, well, one or two emails already from people asking you about various things to do with your work as a sex worker. But first off, I know this week you managed to take in, is it the Francis Bacon exhibition?
Yes, I went to see it. I've only seen the first two rooms as I was only there for an hour, and I'm very, very slow. I take a long time to look at things. And it was very interesting because this is not a positive or upbeat exhibition. It's about anomie, it's about apocalypse, so it's about alienation, it's about violence, and it's really popular. It was absolutely packed on a Sunday afternoon, so it's obviously speaking to something about zeitgeist. And it's also, the glass is very reflective, so every picture that you're looking at, there's a throng of people reflected in the glass, kind of placed inside the picture, sort of unwilling participants in Bacon's claustrophobic vision of human existence. And it was, the first rooms are mostly from around the late 40s, 1950s, and it was making me think about the difficulty of making, there's Theodore Adorno's famous remark about the impossibility of art after Auschwitz, and how we can respond, how we can attempt to make something as irrelevant to the human condition as art after the experience of the concentration camps.
Interesting. It reminds me of something I saw in a movie, and I can't remember the movie, but I know you're a movie buff as well, so you might be able to recollect it, talking about just how axiomatic in our history the Holocaust is. And yet this chap said, and it stayed with me, the amazing thing about the Holocaust is not that it happened at all, but that it hasn't happened many times before.
Well, in a way, I think, to be very unoptimistic, I think there have been many Holocausts, and it's just that they're unreported, and they can be, I mean, for instance, the witch burnings of the 14th to 17th centuries, there were some villages where only sort of a few women were left alive. There have been, if you look at the number of wars that are carrying on, I think it's the Congo where we've heard little about it lately. There are some places that have been in a situation of war for 30 and 40 years. So there are many of these. I mean, obviously the Holocaust in Nazi Germany was obscene and depraved in its worst form. But that kind of ordinary violence, I think, is very... I think the thing that protects our society from it is that we're relatively well off. We cannot afford to go on a looting rampage with our neighbours, because they might pop back to ours and take away our kind of, sort of 42-inch flat screen, sort of recently purchased Sony. And in some ways, I'm very optimistic about human nature. I see a lot of really positive things in my work. And I also think that, we're all animals, and some of those animal reactions are good, and some of them can be very, very dangerous indeed.
Before we move on to television, which you just mentioned there, I know you've been watching The Survivors, amongst other things, this week. What's your lasting gut feeling, having seen these works by Bacon? Some say they're a bit bleak.
It's very bleak, and also... part of me thinks artists like that maybe put out that side of themselves in their work. I mean, he was not a particularly happy person. He had a very deeply depressing relationship with his lover, George Dyer, who committed suicide on the eve of a major exhibition Bacon was having in Paris. He was not a particularly happy person. But obviously those kind of extremities of experience do speak to us in some ways. And just before the break, you were talking about what do we allow our children to see? What do we let them see of this kind of side of human nature, of human experience? And obviously for children it's difficult. We have a duty to protect them to at least some degree, though not to shelter them from the reality of life completely. But I think in some ways we need to be unflinching at looking at the potential negatives of human nature, and I'm a political activist, and one of the duties of political activism is optimism. If we only thought about all the negative things that could happen, we would be paralysed by that. So despite all these things, I remain optimistic.
Can I ask you a question I've been pussyfooting with for about 2 or 3 weeks? So I'm going to ask you it.
Sure.
As someone who is so preeminent in, I suspect, lots of things, but certainly in people's sexual nuances and the very different makeup of so many people's sexual urges and interests, do you feel sometimes when you're looking at what is considered great art, or maybe even mediocre art or whatever, that you are able to detect some sexual nuances that most people would miss?
To be honest, I don't think so. I don't see myself as particularly an expert, and
my thinking is that it's in your it's in your work, and I believe that sex and our libido transfers itself unconsciously into so many aspects of our lives.
Yeah.
That an artist, whether it's from Shakespeare all the way down in terms of literature, and certainly whether it's in the works of Da Vinci and Michelangelo, and again all the way down in the works of the visual, in the parameter of the visual arts, played a large part in the personalities and the characters of the artists. Perhaps not so much their work, but the artists. And obviously you didn't have to go far to find out what Bacon's love life was like, but I wanted to seize the opportunity to ask you that question, since you did suggest some kind of link between his troubled love life with his male partner and his work.
Yes, he was gay, and that's one of the things they suggest in the exhibition is part of his alienation was being a gay man in a situation where that was still completely criminalised and dangerous. I mean, you could be arrested, you could be imprisoned. I think in terms of the sexual perceptions in art, I think with most art we see what we put there. And so I think all interpretations are deeply subjective. And yes, I do see that with some people, and I have no way of knowing if they're correct. There's a review of a Yoko Ono piece that's in Germany on show in Germany at the moment, and she'd specified, I don't recollect in detail, but it was a set of military helmets suspended in the gallery, and she had not specified that they should be German helmets. It's an exhibition being put on in a German gallery, and they had used in the construction of this work to her specification, they'd used German army helmets. And when she saw that, she thought that added something to the work, but actually that was not her precise specification. So I'm quite wary of, I can imagine I could have seen that and I could have drawn all sorts of profound emotional kind of and political assumptions from it, which would have been entirely wrong in terms of seeing them as part of the artist's vision.
Okay, thank you for that. Moving on. You were watching your screen this week, and I think it was the Survivors thing that rather held your attention.
Yes, more cheerful, upbeat, kind of apocalyptic sort of TV, and much lighter in tone than the Francis Bacon. Everybody still looks terribly clean after kind of however many days of kind of suffering and anguish. And I'm not old enough to have seen the original, which I know some people feel very passionate about. And to be honest with a lot of television, I just feel kind of like, well, it's not very meaningful. It's all very kind of quite glossy and pleasant, and even the unpleasantnesses are presented fairly pleasantly. So I'll probably tune into the next episode, but it didn't make me think, yes, I need to stay in and watch more television.
Okay, well, let's rattle on, because we've got 2 or 3 very nice emails coming in that I do want to put to you about your work, which you've always said you're happy to talk about. But you've been reading this week something by Virginia Woolf, and I know it's something that's considered quite special.
Yeah, it's a book called To the Lighthouse. I mean, I've not read everything Virginia Woolf read, but I don't think there are any real low points. To the Lighthouse is, if you've not read any Virginia Woolf, this is possibly one of the ones to start with, because it's quite short. And compared to something like The Waves or to Mrs. Dalloway, that does have a very fragmented sort of structure, this is possibly one of the more narratively driven. Again, it can be seen, it's quite violent in some ways. There's a lot of very evocative description about the violence of kind of everyday emotion, particularly of children's emotion. At one point, the mother, the central female character, Mrs. Ramsey, is sitting with her son, and they're interrupted by her husband, Mr. Ramsey, and it talks about the violence of her son's frustration at the distraction of his mother from the game that they're playing, from towards his father. It's also quite gendered. It talks a lot about the emotional support that women give to men in ordinary kind of social situations, which I think is still the case. And it's very beautifully and poetically written, and also quite violent in terms of the implacability of nature, the implacability of time. Whatever we attempt to do to sustain our lives, whether materially or emotionally, time moves on and will erode that. And so again, not the most upbeat and positive, but it's tremendously powerful writing. And if anybody hasn't read any Virginia Woolf, it's a really good place to start.
What are your reading habits, if I can inquire? Are you somebody who likes to go from cover to cover if you can, or do you have 6 books on the go at any one time? Do you read so that you nod off every night? How does it work for you?
A lot of my reading is concerned with work. I do a lot of fairly academic reading. It's always nice to hear what people in the academy are saying about people who sell sex, and that they have a lot to say about us. So a lot of it's about work. I tend to do most of my reading on holiday. I'll take away probably kind of 20 books for a week's holiday and just sit there and read. And lots of that is really trashy thrillers. I think a good thriller, there's nothing like it. Absolutely. And I tend to be quite dedicated. I remember the first time I set aside a book without finishing, and that was a very taboo-breaking thing for me to do. The idea that I could start a book that I said, actually, this is not for me and I won't finish it. I'm still quite shocked at myself while I do that. When
we come back, it's Catherine on her work. There's some legislation or some tweaks to legislation going through Parliament at the moment that I know she has strong views about, and we'll hear those. Your emails, it's studio@playradiouk.com, and also Catherine wants to just return to a subject which I know we're going to come back to on a future programme, which is her work and the work of some of her colleagues and people with disabilities. The switchboard number is 01243 55 60 60. It's Play 2.
Play 2 UK. Weather.
Cold, clear and breezy for much of the time with a touch of frost. Occasional showers, sleety on higher ground, will also affect northern and eastern Scotland, eastern England and the far west of both Wales and Cornwall. Looking on to tomorrow, chilly, breezy and fairly sunny, though still a few showers across eastern England, turning overcast and damp across northwest Scotland during the afternoon and other northern parts during the evening.
You're up to date on Play 2 UK. PlayRadioUK.com, part of the Something Corporation.
Want to see Wonderbra star Katie Green, Lee Francis, the man behind Avid Marion and Keith Lemon, Sunday League Madness, Jimmy Carr, 2009's Best Games Reviewed, and brand new Jennifer Ellison picks. For the fittest women, the biggest celebs, and the loudest laughs, get loaded. New issue on sale now.
The National Internet Radio Awards 2008 have landed, and Play Radio needs your help. Play 2 UK has been nominated for a top award, and we want you to help us show the world why we're leading the way in the future of radio broadcasting. Only your vote will help us win this award, and voting could not be easier. All you have to do is click on the Vote For Us banner on the Play Radio homepage. Votes are limited to one a week, so don't be shy. Vote for us every time you check back into our website, Play 2 UK and the Internet Radio Awards 2008. Vote now and be part of our future.
Ellington Lodge at the Concord Club. Take advantage of our excellent jazz dinner, bed and breakfast rates. Enjoy live traditional jazz on a Sunday evening whilst dining in our superb restaurant. Stay the night at Ellington Lodge and enjoy a full English breakfast, all for just £52.50 per person. Look out for forthcoming events on Play Jazz UK or visit our website, theconcordclub.com.
The Tommy Boyd Show, only on Play 2 UK.
It's Monday night, just 20 past 10 in the United Kingdom. Good evening to you, good day around the world, and hello if you're podcasting. The podcasts of when I talk to... I'm sorry, Catherine, but it says when Tommy talks to a hooker, but I know you're not bothered about being described like that, but it's one of the most popular podcasts we've got in the whole Play Radio archive, so... good, you're getting your message out. And Andrew Crisp has emailed. He says, I enjoyed watching your guest, well, her back anyway, on ITV1 This Morning programme last week, as well as hearing her on BBC Radio 5 Live. He then rather cheekily asks, how much did you charge?
Well, I'm afraid, unfortunately, at the moment, all the media work I'm doing is for free. But my eyes are set on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here 2010. But I'm afraid that the things they're asked to do are too degrading. So I'm not sure I could really consider it. But
well said, ma'am. Well said.
That's my retirement plan.
Well said. You need an agent, though. You need an agent. What else have we got? Another email. This is from Anne, who says, Dear Catherine, I know this is an extremely probing question, but do you orgasm with your clients? If so, is it with regulars you fancy, or do you get off on being a hooker and having a sense of control? Also, do many men just want to chat rather than have sex, more wanting company and someone to chat to?
I'd say in terms of the amount of pleasure I feel, it doesn't necessarily relate to how good looking somebody is. I've certainly had some really great sex with people who are not particularly good looking. And I wouldn't say it's related to a sense of wanting to be in control with my clients specifically. I mean, I do BDSM and I do S&M kind of on a not-for-profit basis as well as commercially. So issues around power and control, I think they can be tremendously exciting and enjoyable things to explore. And in terms of the sense of being in control in my work, that's not something I experience as a sexual turn-on, because it's more about concentrating on the kind of experience that the client wants to have and making sure that they have that experience, remembering that if there are particular things they said they want to make sure happen in the session, whether it's vanilla sex or whether it's BDSM, that those things happen, and keeping an eye on the time and thinking, right, okay, we have 20 minutes and I need to make sure we do this, this and this. What was the last part of the question?
Men,
sorry.
Can I just say, vanilla sex is what the rest of us do.
Vanilla sex is
boring,
where you don't tie people up and hit them.
Yeah, boring missionary position.
Well, it's not. I mean, the point is about doing what feels good, and the only thing that matters, you know your own body's capacity for pleasure better than anybody else, and the point is to do those things that meet that and that expand that. And some of that can be really idiosyncratic, and some of that can be sort of relatively straightforward, but the point is that it feels good, not what you're actually doing.
Okay. The last part of Anne's question is, do many men just want to chat rather than have sex, more wanting company and someone to chat to?
Yeah, I'd say people may have noticed, if they've been listening closely, that I can be quite talkative. And I would say that generally they get the chat sort of whatever. I would also say generally no, people do want to have sex with me, and I'm sure there are people who do go and see people they've been seeing for, well, possibly not seeing for a long time. I'm sure there are people who do go and just talk, and generally that's not been my experience so far. Maybe I'm just pushing them into it. Maybe they'll just want to sit there and have a nice little chat, and I'm kind of saying, no, we have to take our clothes off and roll around naked. But they seem to be more or less content with that.
Let's come back to the emails in just a second then. You have been busy with the media. Just remind us, or inform new listeners, just what your role is in relation to the army of sex workers in this country. And I know you have some thoughts as well that you'd like to share with us about some changes that have been suggested in the way your work and is legislated against.
Yes, I'm an activist with the International Union of Sex Workers. That's how I first came to talk to Tommy. I was in a conversation with him. He'd previously spoken to another woman called Finn Mackay, who's with the Feminist Coalition Against Prostitution. And so I've been doing some media work in relation to that. The government is proposing changes of the law that are ostensibly aimed at reducing trafficking. And whilst I'm prepared to believe they will be, that they are well intentioned, it's sad to say that actually the laws they're proposing would at best be completely ineffective. The headline on quite a few of the interviews with Jackie Smith is that we want to make men think twice about paying for sex. And my view is that the real victims of trafficking who are out there deserve a lot more than people thinking about it a bit. They actually deserve action from the government, and action that will be effective and actually start making solutions. One of the things that's come up a bit in the conversation this week is getting more information about how completely unrealistic some of the debates we're having about trafficking are. I was speaking to a really big, very well-funded organisation that said they could tell there's a lot of trafficking in such and such a geographical area because brothels would have, Annette on Tuesday, Barbara on Wednesday, Charlotte on Thursday, and so there'd be a different woman in there every day. 2 women working in the same building are criminalised, so it is industry standard practice to have one person working at a time. If you see that as an indicator of trafficking, then there will be huge amounts of trafficking in your area. However, it's actually nothing to do with women's kind of migration status or country of origin. It's about the fact that British law makes us criminal if we were in the same building. So the whole debate is being had on a really... I can't imagine an equivalent of radio except thinking that we're all sitting here with plastic cups on strings. It's that level of misinformation about how the industry works and what actually happens.
To what extent do you think it is an area, a territory for legislation which politicians are approaching because they, as they sometimes do, genuinely want to improve things for the majority of those who function within that territory? Or, to what extent, do you think it is some kind of a vote winner because there are so many people who feel very strongly, and usually strongly because they are opposed to what you do and your colleagues do, that to risk their wrath by making life, as they would see it, easier for you would be a surefire vote loser? In other words, are politicians approaching this one with their hearts or with their thoughts on the next general election?
I'd say there's probably quite a mix. There are certainly politicians who are very, very... I wouldn't say concerned, who this is a real kind of fixation for, not in a positive way. And I'd say in terms of the media role, Fiona McTaggart, who's one of the most vehement abolitionist MPs, who wants us to introduce what's called the Swedish model, where all purchase of sex is criminalised, she still refers... She was the minister in 2004, when they proposed very briefly the idea of having mini brothels, so it would be legal for more than one woman to work together. She still refers to being described as Madam Minister by the media. And so obviously for her, the stigma associated with sex work is a bit deep, even at the Great Remove that she is occupying. So I think it's about the media. It's about gesture politics. It's about, people are saying that this is a law to send a message. We don't have laws to send a message. We have laws to make practical change. And also Jackie Smith has very shockingly been talking about how this is a law to protect the majority. Now, even if it were to do that, which it absolutely will not, it will actually make things more difficult for the minority of people they're attempting to protect. Law, everybody should be treated equally in law. That's a really fundamental cornerstone of British law that goes back to Magna Carta. The idea that we treat different, we have different laws for different people is something, that we've not had since 1426 or whenever it was, earlier than that, when we signed Magna Carta. So it's just a complete mess. There are some people for whom this is a very emotional issue. There are other people who will go with it if it looks like a vote winner. There are other people who really don't care and will just vote whichever way seems in their own best interests. It's a real mess. It's whatever happens, it's not going to go well.
You're listening to Play Radio UK. It's Play 2, and it's a Monday night, and we're with Catherine Capp, who is our art critic and also our spokesperson on the sex industry. And Catherine herself is a sex worker and a world-renowned spokesperson on the industry. We had Jason on earlier, Catherine, who said when you're on, could we ask you, and you may or may not, this may or may not be part of your actual province, but he wants to know the answer desperately anyway, so maybe he's asking lots of people. Can a man tell, he says,
yes,
if a woman is feeling romantic, and if so, how?
Oh, romantic.
Well, I think we know what it means.
Amorous, perhaps. Well, I'm terrible at judging when people are feeling either romantic or more kind of sweatily inclined. I'm the kind of woman who, when there's a man lying naked in a non-professional context, if a man's kind of lying on top of me, kissing my neck, I'll be thinking, but does he really fancy me? So I'm really, not the best person to ask. The reason I'm good at doing sex work is because it's very clear and simple and all very explicitly negotiated. So, and certainly in terms of the women I've dated, I've been no better at judging that than I have with the men. So yeah, I have to kind of really hold my hands up and admit to a complete and total failure. But if he does find out, if he could let you know and you could pass the information on, that would really make my life much easier.
Can I say, at this point, bearing in mind your allusion last week to a movie star who you couldn't find a condom to fit, that you have become, and I suspect you always have been, particularly adroit at somehow leaving listeners, at least, wanting more. But I only have time for one more email. We've had this from several people, actually. I left it off a couple last week, but E has reminded us this week. The question is simple. It's this: what's your tariff?
My tariff? I won't give you an exact figure. I'll tell you that from the start. What I will tell you is that there are many people who are more expensive than me, and many people who are less expensive than me. And the worst paid job I did, I actually lost money on when I took in the travelling expenses into account. So I've not always been as financially adroit as I might be, and I also see disabled people on the basis that they pay what they can afford, and that was somebody who is working on that basis. And yeah, I make a pleasant living, and I also feel, though, in terms of money, and I doubt this is the intention of your caller, but, well, for a start, sometimes people seem to think that if I'm charging £3,000 an hour, that would be okay. If I'm charging £30 an hour, that's not okay. And for me, you know, I'm having sex for money. The amount is not the most relevant thing. But I'd also say, in terms of conversations about costs and fees, I've worked at a whole range of different prices, and I feel really quite passionate about the fact that poor people also deserve to be able to pay for sex. All this, you know, high-class escort, yeah, we all want to be high class, we all want to be whatever, but actually, you know, poor people deserve to pay for sex as well. And just because somebody's paying you £250, £350, £450 an hour doesn't mean that what they want or who they are is any more worthy of having their needs met than somebody who can afford, you know, 15, 20, 40, 50.
Fascinating. Oh, we could talk to you all night about so many different things. But you have mentioned a couple of times tonight and last time as well that you do want to talk a little bit more about sex for the disabled, and I know that there was a possibility that your first guest, if you like, which